And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future.
I doubt it.
One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Post it on your social media.
Shut up, faggot.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live for Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Are you supportive of the onesies? That is the most pressing question facing the country right now. Are you supportive of the onesies? Bernie Sanders demanding to know from HHS Secretary nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. today. If you didn't see that moment, I'll try to make sense of it in a little bit. We'll get to the RFK confirmation hearing part 1. Also in the news, Trump has now walked back that federal spending freeze over some trouble in the courts, apparently. But now the federal worker buyout is still on the table, so maybe we'll get some reduction in federal excess here. Still some savings to be had. Meanwhile, Congress actually passed a bill and an immigration crackdown bill of sorts. I for one, am shocked that the two parties came together to pass the Laken Riley Act. Trump signed it earlier today. You know who was there at the signing? Based Frankenstein himself. John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, making all kinds of enemies in the Democratic Party. He's maybe the rumors about his party switch are happening, but there were actually a lot of Democrats, when I say a lot, like a dozen in the Senate, a few dozen in the House, who bucked their party to support this bill. We'll get to that later. And maybe you heard about that Border Patrol agent murdered in Vermont last week. According to Andy, no. It was two trannies who did it, but it's not just that. They're maybe part of a trans murder cult of some kind. And when I saw that claim, that raised my eyebrow quite a bit. I trust Andy. No, I think he does a great job, but that's quite the claim. And I read through his report, thought, holy crap, this is a real trans murder cult. I buy it 100%. We'll get to the details. Watch out for the trans murder cult. They might be in your neighborhood. I will take calls in the second half of the show. I expect that to be about an hour from now, as usual. Del the Redneck will join for that. If you'd like to call the show, there are instructions for how to call the show and help in the Discord server. The Discord server is linked in the description. You can find it, and you can call the show about an hour from now. And, of course, I'll check in with your Super Chats as well. We'll do that midway through the show and at the end of the show. Speaking of, hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that for as little as $1 a month on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay. Listener support is what keeps my operation running, and it is, of course, hugely appreciated. Not only helps me sustain, it's what allows me to pay the people who help me too. There are perks available for your support as well. mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Linked in the description. Got to say hi to our friendly listener-owned business this evening as well, and that's our friends at Western Razor Company. We know we're being lied to on a daily basis by our government, by corporate media, and by razor companies too. Think about it. Their ads used to appeal to your masculinity. Then they took advantage of your sensitivity with aloe strips, and they kept adding blades, thinking you wouldn't notice how clogged they get. And the more they changed, the more plastic and disposable they became. The honest truth is that those other razor brands are lying to your face, and our friends at Western Razor aren't going to take it anymore. That's why their safety razors are 100% metal, made in the USA, and made with integrity. The replacement blades are inexpensive too, so you get a great shave and you save money. because when you buy a Western razor once, it lasts forever. Can confirm. I've had one for a couple of years now. It's good as new. Listeners can get a 10% discount on any order when they use promo code MATT10 at checkout. Don't let those other razor brands lie to your face. Go to westernrazor.com. Order yours today. Western Razor, the last razor you will ever need. And hey, don't forget our friends over at Hero Soap Company. They have a special Trump inaugural soap for a limited time only while supplies last. 47 has a smoky cedarwood scent that is bold and refreshing, like a celebratory cigar, to appreciate the moment. It's great soap, terrific soap, tremendous soap. Frankly, the very best. You can ask anyone about that. People often do. 10% off the special Trump inaugural soap of 47 or anything else from our friends at Hero Soap Company. Promo code MC Listener. All right. Well, by now you've heard, and the original fake newsman himself, I actually forgot until I was reviewing the clips. I forgot that when Trump made that famous "You are fake news" statement.
You are fake news.
Very fake news.
Maybe not the very fake news part, but the original "You are fake news" declaration. That was shortly after his election in 2016, and he was battling with Jim Acosta of CNN. But the original fake newsman himself, Jim Acosta, now signed off of CNN. He has quit the network. He officially announced it yesterday. We'll get to his parting message in a moment, but of course, we will remember Jim Acosta.
This is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now.
Got him!
For a man who has often struggled to unequivocally denounce white supremacists. You recall these moments.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Donald Trump saying she should be fired, that Liz Cheney should be fired upon. Potential dangers to the country if he doesn't win in November. He's used words like bloodbath.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
Jim Acosta is the news. Dr. Fauci is the science. Walter White is the danger. Even though, as you saw, and I'm sure you undoubtedly already know, Jim Acosta has gleefully indulged in pushing every anti-Trump hoax there ever was throughout the years. Like many of those recently departed, there were so many great Acosta moments I could have featured, and I couldn't include them all in the short montage. The biggest honorable mention to me has to be when Jim Acosta wouldn't shut up and the White House intern went over to take his microphone away. And then he got his press pass revoked, and he cried attack on the First Amendment. And CNN sued the White House. They said, violation of our First Amendment rights, violation of our Fifth Amendment rights. Jim Acosta has a constitutional right to be annoying at a White House press conference. And then the next president came in, as in Joe Biden, and did what? Actually coerced social media companies to censor not just big important Jim Acosta at CNN, but everyday Americans who had questions about where coronavirus came from, for example. Maybe the vaccine is not all it's cracked up to be. Americans who had skepticism about those things, the subsequent White House coerced, through the social media companies, censored everyday citizens he's supposed to be protecting when he talks about standing up to power, as he will in a moment. And as far as I saw, Jim Acosta did not have a sword to take up on that one. Didn't necessarily care about that one. In fact, if you ask questions about COVID origins, vaccine, potential vaccine downsides, well, then you're a conspiracy theorist. Your First Amendment rights, your Fifth Amendment rights, whatever he's citing here in his White House lawsuit. You're a conspiracy theorist. Whatever. Don't worry about it. Shut up and do what you're told. But Jim Acosta signed off formally yesterday And of course, he did it in Jim Acosta style. I can't take that away from him. He had to grandstand about his own virtue and his own bravery, and actually how you, in his honor, should stand up, and you should be brave, and you should stand up to power too by posting your bravery on social media.
You may have seen some reports about me and the show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too.
Look at this fat.
Yeah, read the room, dude. Nobody's afraid. Although maybe in his audience, I guess. But Americans are currently getting exactly what they voted for, and for the most part, they actually love it. Trump's favorability, which has long been underwater, is actually increasing significantly, which is saying a lot for a man who has been so hated for so long. And if you're so worried about people being propagandized into fear, again, we spent the last 4 years under a guy who told us not long ago, you better get vaccinated because we're going to face a winter of severe illness and death. But yes, did you stand up to fear when you were being propagandized about a winter of severe illness and death? This White House right now is all optimism. It's all energy. The last one was doom and a dead guy who was a puppet for somebody else. As far as why, what the official reason for Jim Acosta's departure is, sounds like CNN was not very happy with his current morning show. I can't imagine why. Word is even the airports were turning it off, I guess. They offered him the midnight to 2 a.m. Eastern slot. So I guess 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific. And the thinking was he could move to the West Coast to host it there so it wouldn't be like such crazy overnight hours for him, graveyard shift for him. Acosta declined. He's on to something else. But maybe the memorial is premature because Jim Acosta isn't going anywhere. He's still going to bravely stand up to power. So he posted on Substack Live yesterday, which I didn't even know was a thing. I'm aware of Substack. I didn't know it had this kind of live streaming thing. But Acosta says his thoughts, his analysis will continue there. Substack, of course, is an independent publishing platform. You can follow people on that. So Acosta's going independent. And yes, I'm sure everyone has rushed over to become a paid subscriber.
Welcome to my new venture. I'm going independent, at least for now. This is just the beginning, but I wanted to invite you to join me here on this platform as we talk about the day's news, talk about politics, and so on. And I do want to, and just in case you missed my closing message earlier in the day, don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to fear. Hold on to the truth and hope.
We got to hear it again. Okay. Now, allow me to give Jim a little unsolicited advice in making independent media viable. Now, the first thing you got to do, Jim, if you want to last in this business, is you got to take super chats about how gay you are.
I'm gay, you fucking bitch.
And I'm pretty proud about my own achievements in that business model. Thank you to those of you who support the show. I bet Jim Acosta could do even better with that business model, though. Jim and I once made love. It's got a nice ring to it. I think you guys could come up with some clever stuff. Godspeed to Jim Acosta in his next step. Just kidding. Please step on a Lego, Jim Acosta.
You suck. Fuck you.
Now, speaking of potential career opportunities, not just for Jim Acosta, but maybe even yours truly, it sounds like even if you're just a poor Substack man, like Jim Acosta is about to be, or just commentator 6 trying to survive in this hostile internet podcasting world like I am, maybe we have new opportunity over at the White House, because it sounds like access to the White House is going to be more widely available and less exclusive as it was to, say, the elite Jim Acostas of the world. But yesterday, new White House press secretary Karoline Leavitt made her debut. She is neither black nor lesbian, but it seems like she did a pretty good job. And as part of her press conference, she said the White House is done with this exclusivity club in awarding press passes, as in who gets in there to the press conferences and can ask questions to the press secretary or whatever other White House officials might be there. She said, if you're a TikToker or if you're a podcaster producing legitimate news content, whatever that means, but surely I qualify, right? The White House wants to offer you a spot in the briefing room to ask questions.
We also, again, encourage anybody in this country, whether you are a TikTok content creator, a blogger, a podcaster, if you are producing legitimate news content, no matter the medium, you will be allowed to apply for press credentials to this White House.
Now, I received a few emails yesterday and today encouraging me to apply. It's a new opportunity for you. You should check it out. Now, I am interested, but I'm only interested if I can bring the soundboard. In fact, I want to be the soundboard guy for Karoline Leavitt while she's handling these press conferences. So all right, Mr. NBC guy, you go ahead.
You're a faggot.
All right. Guy from NBC, your turn.
Shut up, bitch.
Okay, New York Times, you've been very patient. Go right ahead.
Get the hell out of here.
If the White House is serious about embracing the podcast art form and news medium, I think this is an historic opportunity. Just let me press the buttons. That's all I ask. I look forward to working together. I'm sure, based on my resume and based on this work product here, they will be contacting me very soon. But, it's been a long time since I have checked in on the super mayor, as she has branded herself, the super mayor of Dalton, Illinois, Tiffany Henyard. Now, the saga is very long, multiple years now, and actually nobody has covered this story in depth better than friend of the show, Sean Fitzgerald, actual justice warrior. I had him on my former Russian propaganda show in March last year to kind of go through this story in detail because I hadn't followed it. If you'd like to learn the full story all the way back to the origin, Sean Fitzgerald, great source, many videos on it. But TLDR, Tiffany Henyard is the mayor of this small Chicago suburb. She is also a supervisor for the township government. And for years, she has engaged in levels of corruption that are flat out hilarious. She spends public money on all sorts of personal luxuries. And she sabotages the people who try to stop her. The FBI has actually been investigating her. Somehow she remains in power, even though much of her community, as we'll see, hates her for many reasons, mostly because she's flat out stealing from them. In the latest development, this happened last night, Tiffany Henyard was involved in a brawl that broke out at the Thornton Township meeting last night. So this township has a kind of a county council, or, a board that governs it, and she's on that board. This is outside of her mayoral duties. And so they have this meeting last night. The only thing that's surprising about this is that it took so long to see Tiffany Henyard get in a physical fight like this. It took this long to see Tiffany Henyard go full Waffle House, but here she is. There are several video angles of the fight. I've tried to edit it as best I can. You're going to see Tiffany Henyard with her bright gold hair that you can see in this still here. Her bright gold hair. She's seated there at the Board of Supervisors table, and some members of the public are calling her out. And so she and her boyfriend swooped in to start punching people. And here was the scene.
Moved away to Texas, and when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter. But I done heard about 4 or 5 people tell me how they had to take care of yours.
Tiffany is in there. Tiffany is in there. Holy shit.
I can't hear exactly what was said. According to the reporting, the guy who was Henyard critical, his commentary that prompted that fight, called her an expletive. Now, Tiffany Henyard has released a statement today, and she claims that he called her a bitch. So that's why. Now, I believe it was Tiffany's boyfriend who threw that first punch there. Tiffany then sprinted in to initiate more physical violence. Was Tiffany Henyard arrested? No, in fact, nobody was. Okay. Has Tiffany Henyard been charged? No. Is she still the mayor of Dalton and a township supervisor? Well, as of this hour, yeah. I think Joe Biden should have hired her as a consultant because nobody clings to power better than Tiffany Henyard. It is legitimately impressive how she has stayed around this long, despite her antics. But we will catch up with the Tiffany Henyard saga some more when there are additional developments. Hey, speaking of the antics of stunning and brave women of color, in suburban Detroit, a rapper of size I've never heard of is now suing Lyft, as in the rideshare company, because a Lyft driver refused to give her a ride because she, as you can see, is so monstrously fat. Dajua Blanding, stage name Dank DeMoss, somehow I guess she must have waddled her way home on that fateful night a week or so ago.
Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
Every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
No, I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough. I get the money and flip it and make time food. Dank DeMoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
I just want them to know, like, it really hurt my feelings.
It looks like Lyft might be hurting pretty soon, too.
I knew it was illegal, and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, John Marco and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, you know, I don't want to have black people in my car, or I don't want to have Christians in my car, or Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
All right, I'll bite. We'll get the obligatory joke out of the way. Very ironic that Lyft could not, in fact, lift her. So she is not only jacking up your healthcare costs, she's jacking up your Lyft costs, too, because now the company's probably going to pay her off. Now, in fairness, I actually would be surprised if her weight exceeded the load capacity of the tires on that car, since that's a lot. This woman, but I don't know. I mean, she's got to be over 300 pounds, right? But my question on the physical components here would be less about the weight that the tires can support, more just like can her mass fit in that back seat? Now, she claims she can, not easily, but all right. She says she's done it before. Lyft is already caving, though. Instead of telling this ham beast to walk home many, many, many times for her own good, they are issuing. It looks like they are appeasing her, like they are granting the legitimacy of her claims and maybe even her lawsuit itself. Statement reads, Lyft unequivocally condemns all forms of discrimination. We believe in a community where everyone is treated with equal respect and mutual kindness. Our community guidelines and terms of service explicitly prohibit harassment or discrimination. Now, as far as the legal claim, I don't know exactly what the specific claims or the specific basis of the lawsuit may be. In general, it sounds like a discrimination case, but that's usually about race or gender or faith, some of the characteristics that the lawyer mentioned there that he says are exactly the same. And he said that discriminating on size or on weight is actually the same as discriminating on race or gender or faith in Michigan. Now, my opinion, as many of you know, I think in general you should be able to refuse business for any reason. I don't like this. You can refuse for that, but not that. Okay. But I was skeptical of his claim that weight or size is a protected class in Michigan because I've never heard of that before. But apparently there's some legitimacy to it. Now, I'm not a lawyer, of course, and I spent about 15 minutes looking into this, but I am told by this legal write-up that Michigan is the only state that explicitly protects, keyword here, workers against weight discrimination. So if I understand this correctly, there's existing law in Michigan that says, hey, if you're an employer, you can't discriminate in hiring based on how fat they are. Or I guess how skinny they are if they're anorexic or something. You can't fire people based on how fat or skinny they are. And a whole bunch of other things. Now, what I'm unclear on is this is employer specific. This is employment law. This is not an employment arrangement with this obese rapper and Lyft. This is just like a public accommodation thing, a business customer relationship. So I'm not sure that Michigan law actually covers that. But this legal write-up that I'm reading says sometimes being fat in this way would be covered through federal non-discrimination law because it can be viewed as or associated with a disability, which may qualify. So unclear legal territory for Dank DeMoss. It's probably a moot point anyway. Is she actually going to survive to see a resolution in this case?
I doubt it.
Then again, she somehow survived this long. How old is she? She could be anything from... She could be anywhere between 15 and, I don't know, 55. Take your pick. I have no idea. Somehow she's survived this long. All right. Big news today was the Robert F. Kennedy hearing, the first round for HHS Secretary confirmation in the Senate. This was the Finance Committee today. About 3.5 hours. Tomorrow, it's going to be the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. And this ended up being mostly what you expect. Democrats grandstanding, making accusations in place of questions for the nominee, much like they did with Pete Hegseth last week or the week prior, whenever that was. Now, to prepare for the stress of the hearing, I mean, God, sitting in front of these people, in front of a national audience, nerve-wracking. RFK actually got a great workout in, though. You wonder how a man of RFK Jr.'s age stays in such great shape. How does he manage the stress? Well, it turns out he lifts very heavy. Here was RFK's workout this morning. Now, Lyft can't lift her, of course, but RFK can. RFK doesn't discriminate, so maybe consider supporting him. And if Dank DeMoss calls RFK just to fireman's carry her home, I think it'll be more reliable than Lyft. That last rep is always tough. Here he goes. He did it. Good for him. That's how, yeah, I mean, once RFK tackled that challenge, he was ready for the hearing, of course. And as far as Democrats questioning, there was some substance to it, but it was mostly a lot of the same name calling and character assassination too. And of course, it was the usual Democrat routine. Please, somebody think of the children.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Here is the ranking member of the committee, Democrat Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, calling RFK names and saying if RFK runs HHS, well, the kids are gonna die.
Mr. Kennedy has embraced conspiracy theories, quacks, charlatans, especially when it comes to the safety and efficacy of vaccines. This is the profile of someone who chases money and influence wherever they lead, even if that may mean the tragic deaths of children.
Yeah, RFK is a poopy face. RFK is a stinky butt. Nobody likes him. We should all give him a wedgie. But yeah, watch out for people who chase money and influence, says the politician of many decades in Washington now, assuredly poor and powerless, like a proper man should be. More on Ron Wyden's power and money in a moment. Elizabeth Warren, despite her hilarious face that I'm surprised CNN decided to feature here, she at least tried to be a little more substantive. But she is Elizabeth Warren, and we know she can't help that shrillness when she gets going and she gets upset. So Liz Warren hates RFK so much that she has just completely flipped all her priors. Elizabeth Warren has built her entire political career on the premise of taking on big corporations. Everything is expensive because of big corporations, corporate greed. Everyone is abused by big corporations. All they do is pollute your backyard and ruin your neighborhood. Big corporations are literally destroying our entire planet, except, of course, in this context, the pharmaceutical companies, the least evil of them all. Everyone loves them, especially Liz Warren. Suddenly, Liz Warren loves big corporate power as long as it's pharmaceutical, and Liz Warren is taking up the sword to protect big pharmaceutical corporate power from the coming abuse of RFK Jr. Now, just imagine, it could be in just a few weeks' time, sooner than that, RFK Jr. becomes your Health and Human Services Secretary, and RFK Jr. starts suing these poor little pharmaceutical companies. And we're still, imagine if RFK had a financial stake in those lawsuits. He became rich off of them. This clip is a little bit long, but it's so insane, I just had to let it go.
I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
no,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people
I don't understand
to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Now, that last part, I think she meant he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate our children. She said, "Oh, he says follow the science and he promises not to interfere. But when we want to vaccinate his children," she said, or his kids. Telling. Is that what she meant? These days, I don't even know. Well, sure, you say you won't interfere, but what happens when we want to inject your kids? Then you will. Is that supposed to be a gotcha moment? I think she meant when we want to vaccinate our kids, he'll stop us. But I don't know. Anyway, more to the point, RFK going to get very, very rich by using HHS to sue the pharmaceutical companies, unlike the rest of these politicians who, of course, used their positions of power and influence to try to force the pharmaceutical company's product on Americans, many of whom in Congress had a financial stake in that matter through investments or otherwise. What she's talking about is the status quo. Everyone in D.C., if not her personally, they're all raking in money through their own regulatory power, not just in the context of healthcare or big pharma, but in the context of pretty much every industry. That is called Congress. It is a problem. As far as her frivolous or excessive lawsuits, her fear of frivolous or excessive lawsuits against the pharmaceutical companies, now, of course, the opposite is actually true. Pharmaceutical companies enjoy a lot of special protections against liability for damage caused by their products. And in fact, as one of Biden's final acts last month, he extended legal protection against lawsuits for the vaccine manufacturers, the COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers, and not just them, but the doctors who prescribe them and the nurses who administer them and pretty much everybody involved, from the factory into your veins. Now, I get it. I don't want an overly litigious society either. When everybody sues everybody for the smallest things, everything gets expensive. It gets harder to innovate, to develop important new things as easily as it would be otherwise. But in this context, we were constantly told, safe and effective. Why would you possibly refuse this? It's safe and effective. Except, of course, for those for whom it wasn't, which was a conspiracy theory until it wasn't. And since when is Elizabeth Warren cautious about making it hard on corporate power? This lady would have the federal government take over every major business in every major industry if she could. That is her entire political existence. That industry is corrupt. That industry is bad. The federal government should regulate it to the end of the earth, if not take it over outright. But no, RFK, don't exercise government power against the pharmaceutical industry like that. Very specific exception for some reason. But yeah, I'm the idiot for expecting any degree of principle out of someone like Elizabeth Warren. The only principle is I hate Trump. If Trump's guy in this case wants to be tough on Big Pharma, well then Elizabeth Warren, I love Big Pharma now. And I, for one, can't wait until RFK's HHS issues an advisory against jumping off bridges, because Elizabeth Warren is going straight to the Brooklyn Bridge or the Golden Gate or wherever, and she's going to take a dive immediately. And by the way, on this topic of getting rich off of positions in the healthcare industry or positions of power over the healthcare industry and government, in just 2024 alone, Elizabeth Warren has received about $600,000 in campaign contributions from donors within the health and pharmaceutical industry. Meanwhile, Ron Wyden, the guy we heard warn about people who are thirsty for money and power, he of course is the most powerful Democrat on that committee, the Finance Committee, Mr. Watch Out for the Money guy. And he's collected over $1.5 million from individuals in political action committees within the health industry. And I'm not sure the time window on that one. But yeah, for a guy who is so skeptical of money and power regarding the healthcare industry in particular, sure looks like he likes their money for his power. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the most clownish moment of the hearing came from who else? Bernie Sanders. In setting up what was supposed to be a gotcha moment, Bernie Sanders explained how a group that RFK helped to start called the Children's Health Defense. I don't know anything about the group, but RFK was associated with the founding of this company. Their stated mission is to end childhood health epidemics and chronic diseases. They don't like vaccines, I gather. They're at least vaccine skeptical. They have vaccine skeptical materials on their website. Apparently, RFK is no longer affiliated with this group, not part of the organization. I guess they sell merch, though maybe after this moment, I couldn't find the merch on the website unless it's hiding from me, or maybe they took it down after the hearing or as part of this hearing. But they were selling merch, and some of that merch is baby onesies that say unvaxxed and unafraid and no vax, no problem. So Bernie Sanders emphatically demanded to know, do you support the onesies?
You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. Right now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah.
I've had nothing to do with leadership.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
So not just Liz Warren, but now Bernie Sanders is shilling for mega corporations. The billionaires must be stopped, unless they want to inject you, I guess. And then trust the billionaires fully and uncritically. Now, in fairness to Bernie Sanders, he's probably very particular about his onesies. They got to have plenty of room for his depends. Otherwise, they're worthless. I want to see Bernie Sanders in a pro-vaccine onesie where he belongs. Maybe we'll get that at the next hearing. Now, RFK had a pretty good moment when Tom Tillis actually asked him a question, or the question of the entire hearing. Are you, in fact, a conspiracy theorist? And RFK explained, well, they call me a conspiracy theorist for reasons X, Y, and Z, and a lot of those turned out to be true.
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me, mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interests. That label was applied to me because I said that the vaccines, the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection, when the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said red dye caused cancer. And now FDA has acknowledged that and banned it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said fluoride lowered IQ. Last week, JAMA published a meta-review of 87 studies saying that there's a direct inverse correlation between IQ loss.
All right, so I'm going to assume
I could go on for about a week.
So is there any one of them that you can say, you got me? That really was a conspiracy theory, or are you in a position?
Thank you for just asking questions and allowing him to explain himself. Even if you do think RFK is wrong about X, Y, or Z, it is more helpful to Americans and to the Senate's evaluation of his nomination if you just ask him about it and allow him to explain. You said X in the past. I'm not sure that's right. Would you like to expand on X? But that's not what it's about, of course. It's about a show. I get that Democrats are not actually trying to find what the guy actually thinks. They're trying to grandstand. I just don't understand how Democrats think these cringe freakouts make them look good. That it's beyond me. Who on Bernie Sanders' staff told him, yes, let's go after the onesies. We will sink his nomination through the onesies. But if the members of the Senate Finance Committee aren't cringe enough, there's the rest of the Kennedy family who just continues to backstab RFK. Whenever RFK Jr. has a new career prospect, whether it's his campaign or him teaming up with Trump later in the summer, or now his prospective tenure as HHS Secretary, his cousin Caroline, and in this case, I thought it was his sister Carrie. It's not. It's a different Carrie Kennedy. But his sister Carrie has been a part of this too. They reemerge to act like they're close to RFK Jr. In this case, as I mentioned, it's not Carrie Kennedy, the sister. It's Carrie Kennedy Meltzer, who's not the same as his sister Carrie Kennedy, but Carrie Kennedy Meltzer is RFK Jr.'s niece. It did confuse me for a second, but regardless, none of these family members are close to RFK Jr. They're all political operatives who leverage their family relationship just to try to sabotage him because, of course, they prioritize politics over family because they are insane and they are scumbags. So remember, and I'm not just speculating on that, Carrie Kennedy, RFK's sister, she said in a CNN interview back in August when Kennedy teamed up with Trump or endorsed Trump, no, I don't talk to, there was a CNN host who asked her, do you talk to your brother about your disagreements with him? No, I do not. In fact, I never reach out to him. I just go on CNN to talk shit about him. Sometimes MSNBC to talk shit about him too. Thanks. Really appreciate it, sis. Well, the Kennedy family members are back in the spotlight now that RFK might become HHS Secretary. Caroline Kennedy, again, this is RFK's cousin, so she is the daughter of John F. Kennedy. RFK Jr., of course, is the son of Bobby Kennedy. So she puts out this letter to try to convince senators to oppose the nomination of RFK Jr., and she calls her cousin a predator. Why is he a predator? That makes him sound like he's a child molester who's about to be busted by Christiansen. Well, he's a predator because he once kept birds of prey as pets, apparently.
I've known Bobby my whole life. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator. His views on vaccines are dangerous and willfully misinformed. Bobby preys on the desperation of parents of sick children, vaccinating his own kids while building a following hypocritically discouraging other parents from vaccinating theirs.
Caroline Kennedy saying her personal concerns also led her to speak out.
I watched his younger brothers and cousins follow him down the path of drug addiction. His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action. Where drugs were available, it was often a perverse scene of despair and violence.
Okay, so forcing vaccines on kids, as the Democrat Party nearly universally did or attempted to do, not predatory. Not at all predatory. Having questions or doubts about vaccines, while of course allowing others to make their own choices about them, that's predatory. And it is so funny how for these Kennedy women, all of a sudden the typical male Kennedy behavior becomes disqualifying. As soon as, in this case, RFK Jr. steps out of the Democrat lane. There's nothing wrong with your dad, of course, the womanizer. Nope, nothing disqualifying about his behavior. Nothing wrong with your uncle, the guy who killed a woman and went on to be the lion of the Senate for decades after the fact. Only RFK Jr., who I guess did some drugs and drank some beers way back when and has since cleaned up his life. Caroline wrote in the letter, Bobby continues to grandstand off my father's assassination and that of his own father. It is incomprehensible to me that someone who is willing to exploit their own painful family tragedies for publicity would be put in charge of America's life and death situations. Okay. No, that's you. That's you showing up to grandstand in betrayal of your family when you are, in fact, totally irrelevant other than your connection to that family. The only claim to relevance that Caroline Kennedy has is through her family name. Nobody would even know who she is if not for that. Her family is all she has, and she still stabs them in the back. That's why I say these people are scumbags. Speaking of, Carrie Kennedy Meltzer. This is RFK's niece. Again, not her sister, but her niece. She is a physician. She's a doctor. And she's going to make it even slimier. She has now released private emails between her and her uncle from 2020 to 2022, where I guess RFK made false claims about the COVID-19 vaccine, our Lord and Savior, of course. In one email, RFK apparently said the Moderna vaccine has a 100% injury rate. In phase 1 trial, at least. But Carrie rightfully corrected him. Actually, most of that is injection site pain and fatigue, don't you know? Well, RFK then wrote that vaccines are associated with rising rates of autism in children, saying his niece grew up in the vaccine generation. She's not been around autism enough to understand the link. Okay. Oh, no, not that. I can't believe your uncle tried to have a debate or a discussion about vaccine efficacy. Again, better throw your family under the bus for just a moment of public praise. But the problem for the genius and learned doctor, Carrie Kennedy Meltzer, is that, of course, nobody cares. So good luck with that. Now, as far as RFK's confirmation prospects, we're now through hearing one of two. And I don't think Democrats landed anything new or devastating today. They, again, like the Hegseth hearing, mostly beclowned themselves. So far as I've seen, no Republicans have spoken out in opposition to RFK. He can lose 3 Republicans and still get confirmed. So even if there's some Collins or Murkowski or McConnell nonsense, there is room for that. I would bet that RFK is on the path to confirmation and will be making America healthy again very soon. In Trump world, today and yesterday, Trump attempted to pause non-mandatory federal spending pending review. There was some court intervention, and now Trump has rescinded that whole order, though it doesn't sound like they're done working on it. But on Monday, the Office of Budget and Management had directed federal agencies to temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement payments of all federal financial assistance, including financial assistance to foreign aid, NGOs, DEI, gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. So what this was a pause on non-mandatory government spending pending review for all that kind of bullshit. Now, mandatory and individual spending like Social Security payments, Medicare payments, none of that stuff was included, but some clown apparently took down some of the Medicaid payment portals anyway, so they could act like, oh, Trump shut down Medicare. I can't believe it. They were shortly restored. A federal district court judge last night temporarily halted the order, and so now Trump has apparently decided to call it off for now. But White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says this effort to clean up the nonsense spending, it's not going to go away. They're just stopping this particular route to end any confusion created by the court injunction, but it sounds like they'll be right back at it. Also yesterday, a memo from the Office of Personnel Management, this is FedHR, this was sent by email to millions of employees, offering to have them leave their jobs voluntarily and receive 8 months' salary. They have a February 6th deadline to accept the deal, and it is expected that a significant number will. Now just consider the numbers. As of November last year, 3 million people work for the federal government. That's almost 2% of the entire civilian workforce. That means 1 out of every 50 workers is working for the federal government. That's not even counting state and local government employees. Now, some of that work is valid and necessary, sure, but how much outright waste do you think that is? And instead of these workers being productive in the private sector where they and the businesses for whom they work would be market accountable, they're in government jobs with all kinds of perks and all kinds of benefits and all kinds of protections from firing. And instead of building wealth for the economy, they extract wealth from the rest of the country. And I know these federal jobs are very cushy, which is why apparently the average federal employee keeps one for 12 years. But so is 8 months guaranteed pay while you find something else to do. You could take an awesome extended vacation, still get paid while you find a new job. And I'm thinking, holy cow, getting paid not to work for 8 months, that sounds amazing. But I suppose that's maybe status quo for many of these people. At least the ones who work in the bathtub. But I bet this deal is going to be tempting for many. We'll see how effective it is. The federal government may turn out just like Twitter or X. You get rid of half the staff or more. And you know what? It works just the same. It's actually better. Now, in a surprising moment of congressional function, they actually do pass laws these days, apparently. I'm shocked Congress was actually able to get together and make this happen. Earlier today, Trump signed the Laken Riley Act. No, that's not the Lincoln Riley Act, Joe Biden.
Come on, man.
It's the Laken Riley Act. This is about the nursing student, of course, murdered by an illegal immigrant in Georgia. This is not about the coach of the USC football team. This is the first law that Trump has signed in his second term, actually. The new law mandates the federal detention of illegal immigrants who are accused of theft, burglary, assaulting police, or any crime that causes death or serious bodily injury. The law also empowers states to sue the federal government for harm caused by failures or decisions in immigration enforcement that harm states or people. Failures could include releasing migrants from custody, failing to detain migrants who have received deportation orders. So it sounds like the feds are not going to be releasing migrant criminals as easily, at least in theory. The only problem is, as far as I'm aware, this doesn't really do anything for states that are doing a lot of that. So New York, California, any of these other states that are just letting these people out instead of handing them over to ICE, which New York did with that killer in the Laken Riley case, if I recall correctly. If I understand this law, we still have the same problem. It's just the federal government's not going to do that stuff, but you can't really prevent the states from doing exactly that. Some improvement, though, better than status quo. You'll take it, of course. 46 Democrats in the House and 12 in the Senate did support the bill, including, based Frankenstein John Fetterman, who was there at the signing, despite the looming hostility in his party about his cozying up to Trump. As far as why some of the other Senate Democrats backed it, again, you had 12 in the Senate. There are several who are facing potentially difficult upcoming re-election bids. I wish I could say they supported it because allowing illegal immigrants to murder our kids is bad. But no, I think it's more just like reading the political winds and deciding I don't want to have to defend my no vote come midterm election time next year. And as far as why most Democrats opposed it, well, according to this AP reporting, they did it because they're concerned that due process rights will be eroded for migrants. So read between the lines. What Democrat opposition is saying, the prospect of abuse of migrants, that is worse to them than the prospect of migrant abuse of you. I'm not saying that migrants should be treated horribly, that they should all be thrown in Gitmo and we should torture them and waterboard them and make them listen to Elizabeth Warren until their heads explode. But if you have to pick between either maybe migrants are going to be treated a little bit meanly, or maybe our daughters are going to be murdered and raped, which risk is more acceptable to you? If someone has to be put in jeopardy, Democrats, at least the ones who opposed this bill, they chose you and your family. Won't somebody please think of the migrants? And of course, they always do. Now, before we get to the top of the hour, we get into some calls. Every year we have that fraudulent Trans Day of Remembrance where the hack activist organizations claim, well, there's a genocide against trannies, when in fact transgender people are murdered at rates lower than the general public. And a lot of those killings are not murders at all. They are justified killings sometimes, or other forms of homicide. The ones that are supposedly murders, often what? Fraudulent blowy cases. Sexual encounter under false pretenses that goes wrong. Now, at this rate, we're actually going to need Killed by Transgender Day of Remembrance. There have been several mass shooters identified as trans in recent years. There was the Nashville Christian school shooter. There was the one in Denver. There was one in Aberdeen, Massachusetts. That guy in Colorado Springs, though it was kind of unclear if he claimed non-binary identity for strategic legal reasons or not. Whatever the case, there have been many transgender shootings lately. And in what apparently has become kind of a non-story, presumably because it is exactly that, is a trans shooting. A U.S. Border Patrol agent was straight up murdered by two trannies in Vermont last Monday. Now, near the Canadian border in Vermont, U.S. Border Patrol agent David Maland, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he was killed in a gunfight with American woman Teresa or Milo Consuelo Youngblood and a German man, Phoenix Ophelia Bachholt. Okay. The border agent pulled these two over, and there was a deadly shootout that resulted. Federal law enforcement had been surveilling this duo because they were staying at a motel, and the motel workers had reported seeing these two in black tactical clothing with weapons and militia-style equipment. And law enforcement had contacted these two prior to this traffic stop and this shooting, and they said, well, we're just looking at property in the area. We're looking to buy something. And then they actually left the motel. That was January 14th. Now, Bachholt is, or was, a man. According to Andy No reporting, he was trans. He used female pronouns. He went to college in Ontario, Canada. He did have a legal presence in the U.S. because he was working in New Jersey, believed that he had an H-1B visa. And I use the past tense language here because he died in the gunfight. He was shot dead by a different Border Patrol agent who was also responding. Youngblood, the 21-year-old American woman, she is accused of firing the first shots at the border agent and causing this gunfight. She was injured, but she survived. She is female, but she also identifies as trans and uses non-binary pronouns. She was a student at the University of Washington, but she's been missing for some time. Her family reported her missing in May 2024, and they had concerns. They said that she was in some kind of controlling relationship, and they cut off contact. Or she had cut off contact, and they were trying to find her. And she filed a marriage application in November 2024, but it doesn't appear that the marriage ever actually happened. Now, after the incident, the shooting, Youngblood got medical attention at a New Hampshire hospital. There she was charged with using a deadly weapon while assaulting a Border Patrol agent, and another count of discharging a firearm during the assault. Now, why not a murder or a homicide charge? I'm not sure. Perhaps she's not the one who killed the border agent. Maybe the tranny friend did. Or perhaps prosecutors are still working on the appropriate charge. As far as the transgender identities, Andy No has confirmed this with interviews of people who knew the pair. And here's where it gets really crazy. Was this pair a part of some kind of murderous transgender cult? Because according to prosecutors, Youngblood had associations with other individuals suspected of violent action. The person who bought the guns for her and this German guy is a person of interest in a dual homicide investigation in Pennsylvania. They are all members, apparently, of this group called ZIZ, Z-I-Z. It's believed to be a violent Bay Area trans commune centered around the group leader Ziz, whose real name is Jack Lasota. And this group is also connected to a homicide investigation in Vallejo, California. The guy who Youngblood was supposed to marry, his name is Snyder, Maximilian Snyder. And I don't even know. Well, there's a woman, guy. I think it's a guy. Looks kind of trans. I don't know. But he was arrested on January 24th in Solano County, California, charged with murder in that Vallejo case. And the reports about tactical equipment, remember the motel employees were like, I don't know, these trannies they look like they got full kits and they're about to do something. Well, after the incident, investigators searched the Prius that the trannies were driving around because, of course, they were.
That's a big game, man.
Inside the Prius, they found pistols, ammo, night vision goggles, and 2 full-face respirators, plus a ballistic helmet, 2-way radios, and a dozen different electronics, some of which were wrapped in foil. Speaking of the foil, I don't mean to get too tinfoily, but the trans murder cult, that seems kind of legit. Like, all these people are connected and these murders are real, so what the hell's going on here? Apparently, the trannies are done killing themselves. They're now ready to kill you. I think we all knew this day would come. Hope you are prepared for the great trans war. We'll find out when that kicks off. All right, we're top of the hour. Before I hop into your calls, I should catch up with some super chats here. So let's take a few super chats and then we'll get into some callers. Over on Rumble, GR, always trying to bait me with the slur. Hey, you dirty ass rigger. Did you actually watch the videos I sent you? There was a Liberty Doll one there, and it was pretty good and updated the story. I responded to your email. It was about the Columbus PD taking out the ATF guy. I replied to you. I don't need to be slurred in this way. Thanks for supporting the show. Banana Hammer. I've given a lot of thought to this one, and I really put all into it. Fuck you, Jim. You loser. Well, geez, okay.
You suck. Fuck you.
I'm glad you did it with enthusiasm. Glad you did it deliberately. A Dangerous Space is our friendly call screener. Don't give in to the lies. Hold on to the truth. Jim, your station got sued for $5 million plus the settlement for defamation and Nick Sandman back in the day. Kindly go fuck yourself. I don't know. Did Jim have a part in the Sandman stuff? I don't really remember, but yeah, of course, CNN as an entity has done some defaming in recent years. GR also says, you can't force yourself into a place. You have to know what fits you. I'm 6'4" and I don't force myself into a medium shirt. Yeah, fair point. Whack ass, mumble, auto-tune, excuse for rap. Real rapper would have a diss out. That's true. She says she's tough, but also her feelings were hurt. I loved that part of the story. Haughty Twerkman, Theodore Roosevelt looked down from heaven on Kristi Noem riding herd on dirt bags in New York City and nostalgically said, hasten forward quickly there. I know Kristi Noem was there for these raids in New York City, and I know she posted videos and photos of her in her sort of Border Patrol kit. I thought, did she actually participate in the raid, or is she just doing a photo op? If you're telling me that she actually took out some of these guys or was there, I'll be a little more impressed with that. I thought it was maybe a little photo op-y, but maybe I didn't see all of it. GR also says Senator Pocahontas is so for the people that she was begging not to let BlackRock fail. She wants to bail them out because they're too big to fail. Government involvement looks like a socialist to me. Yeah, well, Elizabeth Warren aggressively shilling for Big Pharma was just hilarious to watch. Dangerous Spaces. So I guess Wyden won't be voting. Yes. Oh, you're talking about his voice. Did he have kind of a lisp? He did kind of a weird voice, I guess. By the way, part of science is questioning science. It's how science keeps advancing. Also, if a vaccine works, who cares if others are unvaccinated? The great question of the last few years, for sure. Over on, we got a lot going on over on Odyssey. I'll get to YouTube and Tippy in just a moment. It's just memes. Thank you for the elite memes. Ford Critical, Blankets, and others. Matt, what was more annoying, the senators yelling at Hegseth or RFK? They were more shrill during Hegseth. I didn't see all 3.5 hours of RFK today, but the shrillness was much worse during the Hegseth meeting, I think, or the hearing. Thank you, Blankets. Okay. Good on D Live. Let me catch up with just a few on YouTube and Tippy, and I'll hop into your calls with our friend Del the Redneck. Okay. Cheese and come on, dude. What? Cheese and Egger? Cheese and Egger. You're killing me, man. Okay.
He said the N-word.
I started watching you when I was in the 8th grade, right before the first Trump election. Last year I got married, and on the 15th, my baby girl was born. God bless you and your family. Well, holy cow. I guess that makes me 1,000,000 years old. But I really appreciate you sticking around for as long as you have, because it certainly has changed many times over. And all the best. Congratulations on the most important step in your life, which is building a family of your own. Welcome to manhood. Welcome to life's purpose. God bless you too. You're on the right path. Stooge McDuck. Are you sure that's the super mayor, as in, or is that just an Alisation? I'm afraid I've botched this joke. I don't actually know what that is. A German Shepherd. Is that, oh, it's a kind of dog? What is she, a guard dog? Is that what you're saying? She kind of behaved like that. Thank you, Stooge. Wicked Psyched. Just my opinion, which means nothing, but you need someone, could be anyone, to bounce your ideas off of. Otherwise, it sounds like reading aloud headlines with Matt. P.S. I think you're a good kid. Well, we're about to get that. We're getting to bounce back and forth in just a moment. Thank you, Wicked Psyched. Griggs 58. Best part about that deal is military members are, of course, exempt from receiving that 8 months of pay if they're dual status. Let me know how I know. Interesting. I didn't know. I thought it was just like civilian workforce. You're telling me military members are actually a part of this. Like you can leave the military and still get paid. I didn't know that was part of the offer or the order. Anyway. Time to go catch up. I got to grab Del, and then we'll get into your calls. So, of course, I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
Doing soy jack faces? What's going on here?
I'm jamming to the music.
Oh, okay. Just very enthusiastic, open mouth. Got it. Well, what's going on, man? How are you?
Wait, cut that off right there. I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm quite all right. You want
We've
to?
Been having a lot of fun at the Double Wide this week. We had a Jehovah's Witness. A Jehovah's Witness visited us.
Okay, how was that?
I was out, but Maud answered the door, and well, you know how she is about witnesses. But fortunately, I got home before the cement set around his feet.
That would make him as heavy as Maud, I think.
Almost, not quite.
Yeah. Well, but I don't know if you saw earlier in the show, the rapper Dank DeMoss, who was refused a Lyft service. Maybe she could find counsel with Maud. I assume Maud has had some similar experiences that could help her through these troubling times.
Well, Maud is pretty dank, I'll admit to that. So it might work out.
All right. Well, let's get into some callers and see what they have to say. Joshy Boy is up first.
Uh-oh.
Joshy Boy, what's on your mind, man?
Good evening. I was just telling Tim about my laptop problems. Y'all don't hear a hissing noise, do you?
No, it sounds perfectly clear.
Is there a snake?
Well, maybe, I guess. But my fan just runs for whatever reason on this little thing. But anyway, good evening. Not feeling super well tonight. But
as in physically or like in your outlook? What are you talking about?
My outlook is looking pretty stellar now that Trump's back in office. I've been enjoying his first week in office. So, yeah, but I'm talking about like, I guess physically. I am under the weather just a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sick or anything, but I've just been extremely exhausted and whatnot. Anyway.
Well, what do you got for us?
I try not to be so negative or hyperbolic whenever I'm talking, because I do like to talk about stuff in a very calm manner. But sometimes you show me stuff on this show that kind of really upsets me.
Okay. Oh no. What was it? It's okay, got to be Henyard or the rapper, right?
Yes, it
I
is
figured.
those two actually. But one thing, I know you say it jokingly, but the English major in me gets really upset when you say "an historic."
Yeah, that's why I say it, because it's hilarious.
I don't know who started that, but need to be crucified. But
it was an historic moment when they did. That's why, because every time I hear it, it enrages me too, and I tend to hear it on news shows or like radio reports or things that are formal.
Yeah,
and it's like they always say it that way too. An historic. It's got this extra emphasis. English? It's got extra emphasis when they say an historic, and it is irritating.
Oh my gosh! But yes, my major complaints do lie within the Tiffany Henyard. Every time I think that, you know what, I see positivity all the time. Maybe my people can finally do well for themselves now that, you know, the whole DEI thing is over. And then you show me this fight that happened when it's supposed to be a professional setting. And I'm just like, you know, I tell the chat all the time. All right, remember guys, I'm not black anymore. Okay, I'm classified as other.
You have disavowed. Now I think her weave stayed intact throughout that whole fight, unless I'm mistaken. And that's pretty impressive. We at least give her credit for that.
No.
No.
It's not her hair.
Oh. But
I thought her wig fell off.
That's whenever you get the did it fall off? Did you see it? I thought it.
That's what I heard from people that were there.
Okay, maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm giving her too much credit. But
no, she doesn't get credit for having her weave stay on her head because it's not her hair.
Well, yeah,
I don't understand why they.
You gotta lock
the taxpayers' hair.
You gotta lock it in to survive that kind of brawl. Whenever you see these brawls of color, typically in a Waffle House venue, you can judge the severity of the brawl by how many weaves are on the ground and or how many T's are hanging out by the end of it. Like you will usually, if it's just like a one exposed breast, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Matt, you sound like you got experience in that.
I'm talking about like you see him on Twitter. You'll be shocked to learn I am not a Waffle House regular. So I've not witnessed them in person all that often.
Waffle House.
Yeah, Waffle House is indeed great. I can't highly recommend it enough.
Is it only in the South? I don't think I've ever even seen one.
No, yeah, that is exclusive only in the South. I heard up north they have a Denny's, which is kind of like a Waffle House, but up north. I don't know what you guys have.
There used to be a Denny's in town here and a Perkins, but both of those are gone. We don't have like chain breakfast spots except for IHOP. IHOP is the one in town. Yeah.
Well, we have we have down here in the South. We do have a lot of Waffle Houses around. Yeah. I keep forgetting that's mostly here in the South. I've forgotten they didn't have it everywhere in the States. But
yeah, I've never even seen one. It's like Sonic. I don't even believe Sonics are real. That's just like a.
You don't have a Sonic out there?
No, Sonic is not real. Man. They just want you to believe it's real, but it's not a thing. I've never seen Sonic.
They are all over the place in my hometown. I know where like at least 3 of them are.
You've been propagandized to believe that. But one day you will be red pilled on Sonic and you will see that it's been a mirage the entire time. The tater tots weren't real. Whatever their slushy drinks are, they're not real. It's all a hoax.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to show you photographic evidence of Sonics existing, and I'll pass by one every time I go to work.
No,
the other thing that
I have one Sonic related story for you. Brief detour. This is always, it's kind of been like, throughout my life, I've had these sort of recurring bits like that, like Sonic's not real. I try to convince people that I'm serious in believing that, or try to convince people, for example, like that the plural of goose, or no, the plural of moose is meese, because of Goose and Geese, and you can get people to buy. So just stupid bits like that. But because I had my old job, like in an office space, I had constantly committed to this bit of Sonic is not real. Finally, one day toward the end of my tenure there, I think it was like a week before I left, we went to a Sonic so everybody could prove to me that they are in fact a real thing.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
So I won't push it anymore. I've been to a Sonic. It was a real experience.
Did they pay your way and everything? If that works, I mean, I've never heard of Outback Steakhouse.
Well, the Outback Steakhouse in this town might as
be
well.
a redneck and not know Outback Steakhouse, man.
I know about it. I'm telling them I don't in case they,
Okay, good.
The Outback in this town might as well not be real though, because that is a ghost town. There is one, but I don't think I've ever been in there. Anyway.
Well, anyway, this is a good segue about food because let's talk about the fat walrus of that rapper right there. Right?
Go on, sure.
So after you showed that video of her rapping in what appears to be a courtroom, I clicked a different tab because I was eating at the time, right? I don't like being disgusted when I eat, and I don't understand why people like her simply can't lose weight. Like, why won't they go walk outside somewhere or climb some stairs? Or you know what amazes me the most? Somebody that big, this little baby elephant just walking around. I'm trying my best to stay healthy and everything, and sometimes I get a little sick. But this person right here, who's morbidly obese, probably got her own little gravitational pull. She's just walking around, dragging her stomach on the sidewalk, perfectly fine, not wheezing or dying or anything like that. And she's I've never even heard of this rapper before. But the point is, I'm getting sick of all of these morbidly obese people living longer than people like us. And I don't get it. How do you not eat yourself into an early grave? How old is she?
I couldn't find that information. So I have no idea, and it's hard to tell. And yeah, it's like, I mean, I get it. Weight management is not easy, especially if you want to stay in like super good elite shape. You got to be so devoted to discipline in your diet. But in a state like that, to your point, just walk like half a mile a day, and maybe don't eat like 5 DiGiorno's every meal, and you're going to get something closer to normal. It is amazing that people can even exist in that state.
Bro, think about it. 100 years ago, we never had this problem.
No, I mean,
Right?
you couldn't survive. You actually had to work physically.
No. Yes, you have to physically work, and you couldn't be that big. You can't be that big of a beached whale.
No, she can always try the like we like around. I've mentioned this before, but the double wide we like to do the Taco Bell diet, so she could try that. That's where you go and you eat at Taco Bell, and then like 1-2 hours later, you're guaranteed to drop 2 or 3 pounds.
Bro, all that sitting she's gonna be doing will probably kill her right then and there, because that's the most exercise her organs have ever done.
I'm kind of bummed we didn't get to see the video of her trying to get in the car. Now, I'm not mad at the driver. All right, I probably would have handled the situation very similarly. But
bro, talking about an extra car repair. Her fat ass ain't gonna pay for that.
That's true. It is on him, right? It's not an Uber provided car, and I assume Uber is not covering. I mean, I wonder. Like, I actually was looking it up earlier. I was like, what? I guess I don't know what on a standard, economy sedan like that. I don't know what kind of car that was, but an economical sedan. What is the weight capacity, the load capacity on the tires? And when I was, the numbers I saw were way bigger than what she could possibly weigh as a person. But it also it's not no stress on the car. It's I wonder what her weight is. It's got to be 300 plus, I would think.
Man, she didn't even look like 300 plus, man. Imagine trying to go up a hill in that car with her in the back seat. She probably couldn't even fit, man.
It probably has like an 80 horsepower engine, and it's just like struggling.
You burning more gas trying to haul her fat ass to the next destination.
Yeah.
You were probably break an axle or something. Imagine you hit a speed bump, man. What's going to happen then? You probably couldn't even get over it.
What's going to happen is those floppies that she's got here are going to slap her face, and she's going to get knocked out. That's what's going to happen.
All right, that's enough of me being mean. There is one more thing. I know I'm a nice person. Everybody knows that. But there's one more thing that I kind of want to give the shout out to those in the chat. We would love to hear new voices. If you're nervous, don't be. I used to be just like you. I was nervous. I was timid and whatnot. I used to be a huge, massive bitch. But But now that I've been talking on the show for regularly now, I am, well, what did I say last time? Ideally gay. I guess that's the joke we're running with.
Yeah, I didn't even know what you meant by that, but yeah, I remember that.
Well, ideally gay is that I'm often declared to be gay. A lot of people assume that, not even just in the chat, but in real life, because I'm very soft-spoken and I'm very nice, I guess. And, well, I'll tell you another story later on. But basically, I'm trying to encourage people to join the call-in show. I would love to hear new voices and everything other than my own.
Yeah.
I mean, I love talking and everything. I love hearing my own voice. Everybody likes to hear me because I'm amazing. But that's just my shout out to everybody who's thought about getting on the call-in show and maybe a little nervous, but we would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, especially on the topics at hand. And just try it.
I agree.
And if you don't like it, well, at least you did it once.
Yeah, and I think that a couple things. One, there is like a little bit of an intimidation factor, like you're talking about. It's not easy just to hop onto someone else's stream and you feel pressure to be smart or funny or whatever, but you don't have to. There have been many. I have created many of my own cringe moments in the history of this stream. So even if you get nervous and you have a bad moment, you can always come back and correct it. But number two, and maybe I'll think about this, like in theory, I could take calls by phone potentially, but I need to have like a dedicated line for that. I think Discord is just, it's kind of, if you're not a Discord person, it's a little bit difficult to navigate. It does work fine for these purposes. But I think there is a little bit of a barrier there to get people in on it. But I certainly appreciate your encouragement, and I do hope people will decide to call in, because it is always fun to hear from new people. And that's, over time, that's how you get Del the Redneck. That's how you get Joshy Boy. That's how you get Batman. And it just, they just show up on your stream one day.
Yeah. And don't worry about sounding smart, everybody, because I'm 99% of the time I'm retarded. So just come on, say what's on your mind, and then just go from there. And I guarantee you'll have a good time.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate your call.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Bye, Josh.
I will try to bring him something more encouraging next week. I feel bad. I didn't mean to ruin his day with Tiffany Henyard and Dank DeMoss. Now, are you at all interested in maybe giving the Dank DeMoss music a chance? I don't know what your musical preferences are.
They're definitely not Dank DeMoss, but I can. I mean, I'll listen. I mean, if I'm being like tied down to a chair or something, I can probably listen.
What about the lyrics are? I got to check this out. Anyway, all right. Sanguine Mind is up next. Sanguine Mind, go ahead. Sanguine Mind.
Hello.
What's on your mind, sir? What's on your sanguine mind?
Oh, so the sanguine mind, that's kind of more of a, like, some people see that and they're like, oh, you like vampires. No. That means I have a positive mindset despite whatever circumstances are going on.
Well, that's a valuable asset, at least in the last 4 years. But
no, amen. I'm actually a Space Force service member.
Oh, cool.
So I'm very thankful for the recent administration change. Sadly, I've been on leave since inauguration, so I haven't really seen anything that's been like implemented. But I'm looking forward to, whenever I get back to work, seeing hopefully some positive change.
Can I ask what you do in the Space Force?
Well, sadly, we're a very small force, so I'll just say I babysit some technology assets in space, and that's where I'll leave it.
All right. There are a million questions I'd like to ask, but I will respect your boundaries.
You can ask things as much as you want. You might get some no comments, though.
Classified. All right. What did you want to call in about?
Well, I don't know. I just wanted to call in about the election. I'm like I said, it's been a bit weird past couple weeks, but I'm very thankful to see kind of like the positive administration changes, with especially some of those executive orders, some of which relate to the military, that I'll just kind of, let that hang. You make your assumptions, but no, I'm looking forward to getting to work and seeing how those kind of affect, and especially with seeing some of the kind of national security type things that are going on with securing the southern border, kind of like you see the graph where it's just like the immigration or illegal immigration just drops to like very little. Like that's been very nice to see.
You said have you been on leave since Trump's inauguration? Is that what you said?
Yeah, about since the 19th. Unfortunately, my father was of ill health and recently passed. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
Sorry about that.
But no, it's fine. It's been kind of a long time coming. But no, it's been nice just kind of sit back and not have to worry about just like everyone kind of just running around like their heads are cut off.
Yeah, and maybe when you're back, feel free to call in because I don't know a lot of people who are active in the military right now, and I'd just like to hear because as soon as Trump is cracking down on the tranny stuff and all, like you're getting all the nonsense out of the military and the Pentagon. The warning, oh man, the morale is going to be so low. We won't recruit trannies anymore. How will we ever? And I just want to hear anecdotally, what the morale is like inside. And I'm confident it's probably pretty good, but I'd like to hear some stories from some people.
Like I will say personally, I think I've only run into 3, maybe. Because sometimes there's that question mark where people just have like a waiver to grow long hair because they're like Nordic pagan or something. But for the most part, like if you see someone with long hair and it's clearly a man, you're just like, I know what's going on.
You're saying there are Space Force trannies?
I have personally seen at the very least 2 and maybe 1 other in another branch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no.
Space Force's foremost engineers. They're going to be conducting battles on Mars very soon.
No comment. Yeah.
Anyway.
But no, yeah, I'm very happy to kind of see some of these positive changes. I can't navigate to where all of the different topics are, but no, like seeing just all the things that Trump's actually been able to do, including sit down and talk to the press. That has been the most impressive thing so far for this administration. Just like with Biden, like anytime he gets asked a question that wasn't on their approved list, he just turns around and he's just like, was that a joke? It's so refreshing to see someone sit down, answer questions, tell people when they're asking a stupid question, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate descriptions like vibe shift and all that because it's like it's cliche and it's kind of ambiguous, but it does feel like a lot of the energy in the country has shifted. I think people's optimism has shifted. Not everyone, of course. There's the minority of people who are like Trump deranged. They still exist and they're empowered too. Or are they? Like I'm still wondering where the hell all these Antifa people are and where they're entered. Maybe the money just dried up. I don't know. But but I don't know. It's a feelings-based argument, but it does feel like people are just having a better day now. It doesn't feel as awful. Like I guess maybe in my mind, walking around in 2020 through 2022, and most of the faces have a stupid mask on, and if you don't, they're like scoffing at you, and they look like they hate you all the time. It was funny, like just walking around in a world where everyone was inherently skeptical of everybody else, afraid of everybody else, kind of hated everyone else. I am not Mr. like sociable guy. I don't go out of my way to make small talk, any of that stuff. So I kind of get annoyed when people are overly friendly with me. But the other side of it, for a couple of years, that was just like where everything was hostile to social interaction because you're going to get a disease and die. That really wore on people. I mean, me included, even though I'm not like, small friendly talk guy.
Yeah. Like for me personally, like from 2020, that was whenever I started trying to kind of enlist. And at that point it was the Air Force. I many times saw like things on the news or like things Biden was pushing. And I was thinking to myself, man, I don't want to join anymore.
Did you join before he became president or after?
I started trying to enlist in 2020.
Okay.
And that was whenever Space Force wasn't actually taking any recruits. So I was going for the Air Force. And that ended up taking so long that eventually Space Force started accepting people. And then after that, I got in. So it ended up kind of working out in the end.
Well, thank you for the insight into that. When you say small force, how many people are in the Space Force?
Ooh, I don't quite remember the official numbers. I'm going to say a number. It's probably like a couple thousand off, but I think it was like 16,000 enlisted and officers combined, and then some number close to that in terms of just like civilian people as well.
Yeah, you're pretty much dead on. I just consulted the Google machine. They say 14,000 military and civilian guardians. What are the civilian guardians? Just like employees of the Space Force or something?
Well, it's a lot of contractors. I mean, we kind of work pretty closely with like civilian people too, people who are developing things, people who are kind of like implementing things, like our partners in terms of like education and like different other smaller kind of like people who do like specialized things. So.
Well, thank you for the call, man. I don't know if I've talked to anybody in the Space Force yet.
What do you think about Mark Milley losing
Mark
his
Milley.
losing his detail and maybe losing a star?
Oh, I didn't hear that. Did they just like take it off his uniform?
Star, that's impressive.
Break it off.
I would think he should be busted down to private, if you ask me.
See, I don't know how it works whenever it's like, if it was maybe a previously enlisted officer, they could be bumped down to like an enlisted rank, but I don't think it's like you're a pure officer, you can be bumped down to that. But no, I mean, it's pretty interesting. Like seeing his portrait get kind of thrown in the trash after Trump was elected was kind of
Did they
funny.
actually throw it away? I know they took it down. Did they trash it? Did that get like the dumpster treatment?
I don't know. Like it disappeared from the wall. Like it was put up, like, and then a week later it was just gone.
Yeah,
or something like that. But I will say from like Space Force perspective, seeing, I think it was like one of the latest Starship launches. Trump was there with Elon Musk, and then a couple people down from him was General Saltzman, who is the general in charge of Space Force, there with Trump kind of at the launch. Seeing that kind of made me be a little bit like pretty optimistic for kind of like Space Force in general.
When Trump salutes you, he don't do like this, does he?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not.
He probably can't see it, but we all appreciate the joke. Does he do that? What's the Star Trek term?
The Elon Musk.
The Vulcan.
Yeah.
Oh, the Vulcan.
Live long and prosper.
No, but like pull up the new Space Force blues. So Google search Space Force grays. Like the new uniforms are pretty much like old school Star Trek. They're pretty cool. I'm very excited for when those come out.
Let's see. There's a whole Wikipedia page on the uniforms of the Space Force. Let me
Yeah, so Space Grays is the thing that's coming out hypothetically by the end of 2025, but then again, things always love getting pushed down the line with the military.
So they do these blues right now. They kind of look naval to me, but
well, they're from the Air Force because Space Force is from the Air Force, so they didn't have their own thing at the time. Now they're kind of rolling them out. They've been doing like trial fits. Like I've known a couple people who have actually worn them in BMT. One of our MTIs had them. It was really, really sick. They have like the gray pants with like a black stripe down the side. Looks sick. I'd be very happy to wear those.
Let's see. I don't see it on the Wikipedia, but I think this is probably what you're talking about. You won't see it until later on the stream. So the stream can see it. U.S. Space Force starts uniform wear testing. Okay. I don't know if these are the grays you're talking about, but these look more gray than the blues and they do look kind of Star Trek-y. Yeah.
If you see a lot of like current officers, like a lot of the high level ones will be in them. I know a lot of the people in our squadron, like the higher up leadership, like they do have a set of them, and it looks really good.
Well, thank you for the insight into the Space Force. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll call back whenever I'm back on base and whenever I've kind of seen how changes are going, I'll give you an update.
We'll see if the base allows connection to this show. That'll be an interesting experiment.
Probably not. Sadly, most websites are blocked. Even like I tried searching up the menu for our kind of like cafeteria or whatever, but that website was blocked for some reason.
Sounds like government work. All right. Well, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for checking. Bye.
Well, I was trying to think of a Space Force mod joke, but
I was in the Navy, but
were you?
Space Force. Oh yeah, 8 years in the Navy.
Cool. Well,
like in the
what?
80s.
Oh, it was mid 80s.
Yeah, mid 80s, early 90s. I got out.
Okay, so like the Reagan H.W. Bush era.
Well, it was the Bush era. It was Operation. I think I got it right before Operation Desert Shield.
Oh, okay. Did you? Where did your travels take you in the Navy?
Mostly to Keflavik, Iceland. That's where I was stationed.
Oh,
I was doing LSTs up there.
That's kind of near Greenland. Should we have the Navy take over Greenland on our behalf?
Let's hope so. I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, that'd be great.
Pro Greenland annexation, huh?
You bet.
We'll see if it happens.
I'll take it.
You can't stop the winning right now. It's too much winning. Like,
No,
it's
it's almost too much. You're right. You might have to call an ambulance.
We need a winning break. We can't handle Greenland. I don't know. We have so much winning. We have to dump off our extra winning in Greenland. Send our ships there. All right. Golden Leaf, go ahead.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you guys doing today?
How you doing?
We are well. What's on your mind?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I'm guessing you guys have been reading the chat. I've been listening on and off with the live stream. Have you guys heard about what happened in D.C. recently?
The airplane?
No.
Yeah, it's confirmed. It is a military helicopter that collided with the airline's jet.
Is this the fighter jet that went down? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
It's a passenger jet.
Oh.
American Airlines passenger jet that carries 60 people collided midair with a Black Hawk helicopter.
What?
As it was, like literally 30 minutes to an hour ago.
Okay, so like right around showtime or after.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the helicopter was, but I heard about the plane going down in the Potomac.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So far news from what I'm seeing, 4 people have been rescued from the Potomac.
Okay, well, holy crap! This is like a major thing. Let me see if I can find some news on this.
Roz Alerts, that's one of the people I listen to, or that I have on Twitter. They usually are more up to date. Nick Sortor.
Yeah.
However you say, he's posting videos about it. But yeah, the airport has been kind of halted, and just a mass cast event. Water is believed to be.
It's on the CNN front page.
Yeah, I'm going straight to the source, man. CNN. Let me see. Passenger plane collides with Army helicopter near Reagan Airport. 64 people on board. Outside of DC. Okay. No confirmed casualties at this time, though, as you're talking about, that's probably going to change, I would assume.
The water is 42 degrees. It's dark out, and it landed in the Potomac.
Scary.
Yeah, the only video you see of the crash is like a far off camera from like another building or something. You see the plane light and you see the blinking lights of the helicopter, and as soon as you see those two lights converge, just there's a big fireball.
Oh, okay. So you can see that, like the stuff exploded in the sky, is what you're saying.
Yes, you see it explode in the sky, but again, it's like from like 3 to 4 blocks away.
Okay.
So like you only see like the other part, but
can you tell based on that footage? Now, obviously, we don't know, but does it look accidental to you? Does it look? It
looks like either A, the air traffic control fucked up and told the plane it was good to land because it was landing at Reagan National Airport, and the helicopter was probably at its normal fly distance or fly height. So maybe there was either miscommunication, they didn't realize the helicopter was still in the area, or they never told anyone. Again, details are still coming in. I'm thinking this probably is human error.
Okay. It doesn't look like airplane or helicopter deliberately flies into airplane or something like that. Like some guy intentionally committed a weird terrorist attack. Although you think if you were going to crash a helicopter, it would actually take skill to hit a landing airplane. I mean, it's not that it couldn't be done, but
it looked like the landed airplane hit the helicopter as the helicopter was just on its normal flight path. So that is what I'm seeing.
Okay, so both looked like they were just doing what you'd expect them to do, and they
unfortunately they were on an intersecting path.
Yeah,
it's like the thing on the museum. I forgot where it is, but it's a literal just 2 bullets that miraculously just collide together and they're like fused together.
Yeah.
It's rare, but it may happen.
How high, based on what you saw, could you tell how high this explosion happened?
It's pretty low.
Okay.
It looks like descending height for a plane to do is landing. Again, I'm not an expert on that. I'm just giving what I know from news reports I'm getting. And as one of my buddies said, how do you think they're going to blame Trump in this?
Well,
yeah, probably.
Anyways, somber things ahead. I want to talk about the elephant in the room, or I mean the whale in the room.
Yeah.
I'm not in here yet. Is she here already?
I think really quick before we move on, I think I found the video that you're talking about. I'm just going to play it really quick. You might hear some sound, but I want to see what this looks like before we move on from the collision.
You could once you see where the explosion is, then go back 10 seconds. You can see where they intersect.
Wait. So now this source, some sources are saying massive casualties reported. And obviously, I saw CNN saying no casualties, but the idea that we're going to get through this with none.
I think what they are saying is they probably heard the radios from like the police department and everything.
Yeah.
Usually there is a situation like this where multiple agencies or a mass casualty event where they are preparing for the worst.
Okay.
Where they are literally getting all the ambulance. There's probably like a hospital wing being ready for any survivors, and it's literally just they're preparing for the worst.
Now, if you saw the same angle I'm looking at, the camera is far away, but it does look low, and it does look like a big explosion. That's for sure. Like it's lighting up the entire night sky.
Yeah, you can see the light of the helicopter, and you can see the plane, and it just right there. Just it is unfortunate. I am praying for any survivors.
Definitely.
And but all right, to a more interesting topic, gentlemen. So this whole scenario with this rapper, and I say this in quotations because everyone's a goddamn rapper at this point.
She has a lot of rappers from all her snacks.
I was gonna say.
I mean, if you look under her chin, there's definitely a telltale sign of a double bacon cheeseburger wrap.
You'll find some rappers tucked in there too.
Double cheeseburger wrapper, yeah.
But for her to sue Lyft because they refused to this driver to accept a ride from her. The way they're trying to go at this is, it violates her civil rights.
Apparently, yeah.
Then I'm sorry.
It's in the Constitution.
Then I'm sorry. Then an airport saying, "Sorry, sir, you're too fat to be on the plane. You'll have to wait," is also one of it. Oh wait, never mind. They need that because the planes can fall out of the sky if there are a lot of weight on it.
That's true. Have we ruled out Dank DeMoss being on that plane and causing its trajectory to shift and then colliding? Or on the helicopter? Who knows? Maybe she was shooting her next music video.
Oh, God damn it. But it's just an interesting thing with this. I'm just going to look at this and just kind of laugh. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be making fun of fat people. I'm like, listen, if you have to walk, if you walk and you waddle instead of walk, I'm going to make fun of you. And also, the more question, people that big, how the fuck do you wipe?
I would think that she probably has a few assistants in her life to perform
with
many
with
functions.
that amount of money. Yeah,
she's got rapper money.
I guess.
You hire people.
Is a standard size toilet even sufficient? You know, like what's the weight limit on your standard toilet?
I'm gonna Google that real quick.
You get a lot of questions about these sorts of things.
I never really thought, hey, maybe look up how much a toilet can withstand the weight.
Yeah. Well.
So, anyways, and then I'll preface to the Laken Riley Act. Basically, what you guys think? I read the bill. I even looked at what its contents were, and I'm not saying anything bad about it. It's just illegals who commit crimes and are getting caught are going to be deported, and states or individuals can sue. I think it was the federal government if they fuck up and release this person, which I'm like, excellent. Yeah. If the government fucks up and releases someone that has a history of just beating women, and then you're surprised when another woman is beaten a week later and she sues, and you're like, well, we never saw this happen. Yes, you did. You just released him because you say woman beater, I see engineer.
I don't mean to be a wet blanket on this because it's one of those, that's fine. I don't have a problem with the terms of the law. It's one of those things that's like, how is that not the law already? But my concern is, obviously, if you're stopping people from release, if you're stopping migrant criminals from being released from federal custody, that's great. If they don't, if we're stopping them from going out and committing crimes, as happened to Laken Riley. But what about the states that are bringing these people into their custody and letting them go? They're not handing them over to ICE. They're not participating in deportation. You're talking about your sanctuary states. I don't know that the federal government has jurisdiction to go impose things on them, but you still have a big gap in this system whereby a whole bunch of states are still facilitating these people and refusing to cooperate with federal immigration authorities, which is like one of the very few areas that the federal government has necessary and legitimate authority. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. And I can see like ways that the federal government could coerce them. And I hate that the federal government would have power over the states like this, but suddenly for stuff like this, be like, all right, you're not helping us catch these dangerous illegals, you know, these ones that have actually done great harm. Okay, all that federal funding that you usually get, yeah, we're just gonna put a hold on that. You're gonna be fine, right? And other stuff. It's just, I don't want the government to have that much power over the states, but then again, it's kind of like double-edged sword. You need to somewhat keep the states in line, be like, hey, this is the rule of law. You're not going to go against it.
Well, defense of our country from foreign invaders is inherently a federal issue. It has to be. Collective defense of the states is a federal issue. And yeah. To what extent or how can you punish states for undermining that? I get it. Like you can't, the federal government cannot compel the states to police federal issues for the feds. And that is an important principle.
Yeah.
But it's just weird that like we're in a position where states don't want to do that. All they have to do is when they make an arrest for violating the law in their states, like, oh, you robbed a store, or you killed a person, whatever you did, that if we see, oh, this person is not in this country legally, and or this person has some kind of ICE detainer or potentially a deportation order, that we don't want to turn them over to federal authorities to get them removed. Why do you want them here committing crimes in your country? Why don't you want the assistance of federal authorities where they have legitimate jurisdiction? It's a crazy problem we're facing.
Yeah, it's just, and I do believe that the border, like the national borders, is something that the federal government should, make sure is kept safe to protect.
To
protect from foreign and domestic, especially foreign, because yes, I believe that some states that are bordering these countries. I believe that if you're not willing to ICE help, if the government needs to put up a wall and you're delaying it every which way, there's got to be something to that. And
maybe we just I don't know. Send Tiffany Henyard in to get Gavin Newsom and Kathy Hochul and the rest. Just do that.
It's one of those things of we gotta have a conversation on the role federal government plays on, especially the border and immigration and what the states can and can't do. It's never going to be a long conversation.
I'm surprised you're willing to grant them the mercy of a conversation. That's very kind of you.
I'm people that I like to talk, especially if I have to debate someone, and it is fun. I will say, depending on the topics, there's stuff that I'm really for, and one of the big ones is the Second Amendment. I want mail-order machine guns. God damn it!
Well,
let Brendan Herrera be ATF director.
Soon we'll have
put a stay.
Yeah, soon we'll have a proper country where you can get a Thompson from Sears again. But
where machine guns are common use now, like ARs.
Well, I always and on that point, and we'll wrap it up after this. But you raise an interesting point that I want to get to, which is about the common use standard in the Second Amendment case law from the Supreme Court. What guns does the Second Amendment protect? Those in common use. But the problem with the common use standard, at least in my opinion, is common use is defined largely by government regulation or control in the first place. The only reason machine guns are not in common use is because the government decided to take them out of common use. That's all. And so common use to me, like, I find that standard to be frustrating because it depends on government control in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely something that does frustrate me with that. But before I leave, gentlemen, I have another joke for you.
Uh-oh.
All right, what do you got?
It's so. How is a fat chick like one of those tiny motorized scooters you see? How are they both the same?
How are they both the same? I don't
They're
know.
both on the ride. Just don't let your friends see you do it. And with that, I'm out.
All right.
Have a lovely day, gentlemen.
Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Okay. That one work for you? That one land?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
You know, you don't
Didn't
like
get that one.
The fat chick bike jokes. Well, yeah.
No, I don't like to ride those many things, so I didn't get that one.
You seem like a man who can find humor in just about everything, but not that one.
I don't. I'm scared of them things, man. If Mom was riding one and she fell off and it caused like level 5 earthquakes. We had all these scientists all around the double wide doing measurements and things, and I was like, no, she just got on one of them hoverboards. That's all.
I hadn't thought about mod aftershocks. That is a danger, you know. Do you have insurance for that sort of thing?
They won't give me insurance for that. No, it's like I'm trying to act. It's like act of God, but they're like active mod don't count the same as active God. So
it's a hard G, man. It's not an M. Got it. Egrin, what's on your mind?
306,000 deaths over the course of Biden's term on overdose of opioid drug use.
Yeah. Yeah, we often don't think of that. Like we focus on the murders like Laken Riley, which of course are hugely important. But yeah, what is the body count for all of the drugs that have come across the border? A lot, you're saying.
Well, I counted. I looked at. I just looked it up on the CDC. In total, it's a rough estimate of 306,000 deaths.
So they're saying 300,000. This is what the last. Is that year? What's the time frame?
At least between 2020 to 2024.
Okay, so 4-year time frame. And do we know what percentage of the fentanyl in this country is coming across the border? Does someone have an estimate on that?
That one I don't know, but
it's probably a lot. Probably most.
The majority of it is fentanyl. It is.
Oh, so that's all drug overdoses or just fentanyl?
I said the majority.
Yeah, I'm just the 300,000 stat that you referenced. Is that all drug overdoses or is that just fentanyl?
Yeah, that's all drug overdoses. But the majority of them are fentanyl overdoses.
Yes.
Not only that, they're constantly making more fentanyl mixtures that you can't get revived by Narcan. So
really,
man, slight aside, I had a friend who was in DC for the inauguration, and he was showing. I've never seen this before. DC street side vending machines that have drug paraphernalia in them, like crack pipes, and Narcan in the vending machine. And I don't know if these are free or how you operate them, but it's what if your friend needs Narcan and you don't have or your dollar bill has like a fold in it. You can't get the Narcan out of the machine. I don't know how it operates. It might be free, but I've never seen drug paraphernalia and Narcan out of a vending machine on the street, which is what was there in DC.
It's definitely a tragedy, along with, Planned Parenthood thinking that you're planning to be a parent, but you're just wanting to just get rid of your child, your mistake, and your shame.
They rename a lot of things. It's certainly planning against parenthood in most contexts. It seems around there.
And
that's a sad
I'm hoping that RFK is able to address these issues, because at least cocaine, what people were fine with that, and I wouldn't say the overdose was super high, but with fentanyl is just you're going to have those OD moments, and I've already spoken with multiple people that have had those overdose, and they've just made it. On the other side.
Yeah. Here's hoping we get that stuff under control. You see a lot of these street reporters in, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and it's common. They just like watch a guy die. It's like, oh, there's an OD guy. Oh, he died. And they're just dying on the street side from these drugs. And, that sort of stuff. Of course, it often happens in these cities that enable that sort of behavior, the sort of cities that give you drug paraphernalia out of a vending machine, maybe for free. But man, it's like that is not stuff you see in a proper country. There is no, to a certain extent, you can't ever eliminate all of it. Drug overdoses will happen. People will consume drugs. But the fact that it's like a normal, like a drug overdose death is a sort of normal sight on a public street in many major American cities is, it's just tragic. It's tragic for the loss of life, obviously, but it's tragic for what it says about the state of our country.
Well, the issue is that our heritage of who we are is kind of lost. It like people that we know that have had marriages, you can at least see their family trees to a certain extent. But nowadays, people don't even know what their heritage is. They can't really trace it back. Like there are some people that, they can trace it to a certain degree, but it's been kind of lost to just all these situations that we are seeing today.
Yeah. Well, family's been devalued in any number of ways, and it is really unfortunate. You don't participate in the great progressive tradition of abandoning your family, destroying your family, thinking your family doesn't matter. No, your family's going to get you through the toughest times. And if you want to be helped through your toughest times, you got to be a good family member for your family as well. Make sure they can rely on you. But Egrin, I appreciate your call. Do you want any kind of final word before I let you go?
Well, RFK mentioned for some reason that the COVID-19 targeted blacks and whites, but not the Ashkenazi Jews or the Chinese.
Ashkenazis. I get you.
Yeah. For some reason, the COVID-19, RFK explicitly said that it mostly targeted blacks and whites.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what he said. Like, it had disproportionate racial effects in what way? What was the effect?
That I don't recall the full effect, what he mentioned on it, but he did mention that it did affect black and whites more than often than other races.
I'll have to look back at what he said. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, it's going to be a fun time if he becomes our HHS secretary. I can't wait. I can't wait for the perpetual freak out.
And red dye number 3 banned forever.
That was a good
All
one.
right.
Yeah.
I'll have a good night.
All right, thank you.
All right. I don't mind RFK at all. I'm not a big fan of his abortion stance, though.
Hold on. I went in the wrong room. Everybody shut up. All right. I used to do that on the old call-in show. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sometimes when I'm moving people around Discord, I accidentally jump in the wrong room, and I'm like, holy crap, they're going to be talking, like everybody's going to be saying something they don't want on the stream, and here I am picking it up like a moron. Sorry, what RFK and abortion?
I'm not a big fan of his. I don't know if he's changed or not, but I'm not a big fan of his abortion stance. He's been saying that at any time it should be up to the woman.
I haven't heard him talk about it for a while, but I've heard things like that. Was he actually any time, or was it like up until birth?
He said, I believe he said that he believed in a woman's right to choose up until birth.
Wow. Okay.
That's the only thing keeping me from saying, I'd love to see him in there. But
I feel the same way, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he's changed his mind, or to me, I look at Tulsi Gabbard in a lot of the same way, where the things that she said in general about the government spying powers, about FISA specifically, Section 702, and I know she's kind of softened on some of that stuff. We're going to see her in the committee tomorrow, which should be just as entertaining, hopefully.
I'll have it on.
She, in the same way that she has left the Democrat Party and come around, most things I hear her say I like. I certainly would not mind having her in power, I suppose, in this director of national intelligence role, where I think she's been mostly good and said a lot of good things. But I remember not long ago, she's right there on the Democrat debate stage talking about banning guns or talking about expanding the role of government in providing health care. I don't know if she was full on Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders single payer, but things of that theme where it's like, okay, I like what you're saying about X, Y, and Z, but fundamentally you're still like a big government, ban the guns type person. But I try to I want to offer a little bit of patience with that because I was one of these people too. And it took me a minute to come around, and some would say I never did come around, or I haven't fully yet. But yeah, you think if it was just abortion, would you be in his camp? Is that the one thing about him?
I mean, I appreciate. One of the things I didn't like about them hitting him on today was, do you, especially Bernie, do you condemn this? I'm like, it's free speech, dude. I mean, if they want to put that on a T-shirt, then you can't get. You should be able to say anything about that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So that's where I came at that one from. Was like, that's a free speech issue. I don't think. I mean, if that's his opinion, that's fine, but he's not going to put it into law.
Will you condemn the onesie? Is just one of the.
He's not gonna make it a lot of all infants have to wear a onesie that says no vax.
Yeah.
No
all right.
vax on my bottom.
I got two more callers. Are you able to stick around, or
I'm always able to stick around. You bet.
All right. I will assume that is the default. I just want to be respectful of your time, of course, because I appreciate it, sir. All right. Zero Snark 30. Go ahead.
Hi, Matt. This is my second time calling into the show.
Well, thanks for calling in.
Welcome back.
Hey, I heard I haven't met Dell before. It's Dell as in like the character from Jeremiah Johnson, right? Dell Gu?
No, this Dell is in Dell Brooks the Redneck.
Like, dude, you're getting a Dell.
That's it right there. I'm a computer. Yeah.
Is that a movie reference that went kerplunk, as in no one else has seen that movie?
No, you had to have to be aware of computer TV advertisements from like the late 90s.
No, I was just asking about my reference to Jeremiah Johnson. No, I know about Dude, You're Getting Adele.
All right, cool.
I am of that age group. Yes.
Yeah. I get confused with. I mean, a lot of people have my name as like they think of the gay annotations for it. I'm like, why do you think that? And they're like, well, I heard about the farmer in the Dale. I was like, oh god.
That one I would probably just find the lightest way to slap someone in public without being charged with any kind of crime. If I heard that kind of pun at my expense for my name, but my name's not Dell though.
I whipped the belt out like my daddy did.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize someone in chat's calling it a Gen X joke. I'm not quite that old, but
neither am I. But it pretty much is. Yeah. It's like that's early millennial stuff, if it is. Right. Back when, like, remember when Gateway Computers had all like the moo cow stuff?
Yes, I do.
And Dell was, dude, you're getting a Dell.
Core memory unlocked.
Apple was still making those like weird color TV looking computers. Like not as in a color TV. They looked like TVs, and the exterior shell was various plastic colors.
That was back in the day where if you went to Walmart, you could probably find in the video game section, you could play a demo of a game for free, and the controller wasn't already broken by some unhousebroken genetic abnormality that some people call a kid.
Once upon a time, my friend and I made my dad drive us 60 miles to a Pizza Hut so we could get the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater demo disc that came with the pizza. And let me tell you, we played a lot of 2-minute runs on the warehouse in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 demo. Probably for years after that. Yeah. That was shout out to my dad who's probably listening right now. That was great dad behavior. I hope to emulate that for my sons going forward.
Yeah, I played Tony Hawk on the N64, so I couldn't get all the cool demo stuff from, say, Pizza Hut. That was all PlayStation. But
some of my friends had N64, and there were a lot of great. Like I loved Mario Party, and of course Mario Kart, and like the classics, and Perfect Dark. But I never understood that weird ass 3-prong controller. The controller was always just like, what is this? What were they doing, and why?
Yeah, they should have. Like you just realize that in some ways the generic design controller that we have today, where it's always these two prongs, you get a stick on that side, D-pad that side, face buttons that side. If they had just jumped to that a little sooner, then a lot of weird design choices in the N64 could have been avoided.
Yeah.
All the Dreamcast needed was a second stick, and then it would have been just fine. But other than that, anyway, I guess I'll get to some stories.
Sorry
I
to
guess, that I
divert
would've-
to video game history, but
Oh, I'm all in on that. I got a Steam Deck. I can finally emulate all the old Dreamcast games that I didn't quite get to play because
is fun.
I was
I would-
6 years old when that came out.
I went back and played some PC emulated Sega Genesis games, like when I was when I came back home from college for Christmas break, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Sega is I'm sad how unappreciated Sega's hardware was, and a lot of the Sega home the stuff that's exclusive to Sega hardware. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I was just going off of the prompts, off of going into the roll call on the server here. So what about the stuff that you've been covering? I was getting right with all the stuff like, ooh, I'm gonna make a joke about Jim Acosta and then talk about dunking on Harry Sisson trying to make a wisecrack about how the administration's been going so far. And then while I'm on the wait list and I get the news about the breaking news about the plane collision.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all developing. Everything about this is brand new. All I can say is like, how the hell does a Black Hawk helicopter decide to fly near a civilian airport without broadcasting any kind of signal and then end up perfectly in the path of a landing plane?
Yeah, situationally that does seem weird. You're right. Like even if the flight paths don't look weird, the situation seems unwise or unusual.
I can only imagine that if you are on a Black Hawk helicopter and you're deciding to go dark so that no one can see you, you should be extra wary of knowing where the landing paths are so that you don't just end up in a high traffic area and then end up exactly like this. No, it's something about this stinks.
Okay, so now earlier I had read it was an Army Black Hawk. Now I'm seeing reporting that says it was a police Black Hawk. So according to, I don't know if that's DC Metro Police or what police force, but they're saying police helicopter, not Army helicopter.
Well, then this is completely breaking in real time. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is fog of war. Can't know anything for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll probably know a lot more in the morning.
Yeah, but I guess if it's police helicopter, maybe that would explain. Maybe it has more. I mean, it seems like it would be more sensible for that helicopter to be flying around civilian area in that context than say like an Army helicopter off base for whatever reason. But okay.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if there are any. We'll see about any details. If this was purely blind human error, if this is some crazy act of sabotage, who knows? But
or AI.
Yeah, or some big AI, as in like some kind of fake video, or an
Or
AI
just like,
error
I
in
mean,
the
if
navigation.
they're starting to incorporate AI more and more into all our systems. They're doing it in the medical. Now I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing it at the airlines in some way.
AI pilot.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that at all. You go ahead, sorry.
Me either.
Right, because here's the deal with AI. It's that we've been mentally conditioned through decades of sci-fi thinking, ooh, AI, it's going to be like computers are going to get so smart. It's going to be like a new form of life. It's going to emerge out of the rocks that we struck with lightning and trick them into thinking. And it's going to be like a new brother in humanity. And it's going to be the coolest thing. And when all this new AI stuff it's just Google autocomplete on steroids. And it's not actually something that's going to... The only reason AI actually can function and can work is if it's one or two steps away from actual organic human thought. It's not AI cannot produce based on AI-based output, or else it's going to be depreciation. It's not all that sustainable. I will say, though, when Trump nominated, I think, Lee Zeldin as head of the EPA, and Lee Zeldin, when he expressed his gratitude for being nominated for the head of the EPA, I think, he said that the U.S. will be a leader in AI. That was part of his motivation as the EPA. So I wonder how the EPA handles that. Then again, I will say AI is a thing that can go really, really wrong if the wrong kind of stupid people try to make it do the wrong kind of thing. So if someone's got to take charge of it as a global expectation, it should be the U.S., just like how the U.S. should be the crypto capital of the world. there are certain things that, yes, the world naturally gravitates towards America at this point in time, and it might for another century or two, even if it continues with this strange crashing of the American consciousness. Or that's just more of a, any developed countries just tend to have this tendency where the NPCs, like, respectfully, there are NPCs on both sides of any kind of human conflict. That NPCs in a well-developed country, they just sort of have this, I don't know, they just sort of start lagging a bit in deciding what they want to do. And so I'm just saying, for now, the world seems to be successfully and rightfully so gravitating and orbiting around the U.S. for basically everything. So yes, we should be in charge of things like AI, at least to set some of the ground rules. Because
our robots have to beat their robots. There's going to be a robot war after the gay war and the trans war. I mean, I'm kind of joking, but not really.
Well, let's see. I mean, the real war is going to be artificial intelligence or human stupidity. Because because here's the deal. I recently, for Christmas, I was visiting my family in another state, some extended family. So I have a nephew who's around 16, and have you seen this commercial for a Coca-Cola? It's a Coca-Cola commercial that's on during all the football games, and they tell you, it was around Christmas time, saying that this is a commercial made entirely out of AI.
Oh yeah,
animation.
I have seen that one. Yeah,
it's pretty cursed and it looks really bad, and people don't like it. When you find it on the internet, all the comment sections say, this is gross and you should have hired animators, and it just looks bad. But I was decrying it, saying that looks really bad, and my nephew admitted, I can't really tell the difference between AI and non-AI stuff on TV. And
it's getting better and better in a lot of different contexts. And the stuff that really is starting to freak me out is the vocal replication, where it can basically make recordings that sound like that guy said that. And you can always like the visual stuff. It always, there's like little tells with the images or videos. A lot of times the lighting is not quite right or looks almost too movie-like to be real. And with the voice, it's the subtleties of natural pauses and filler words. You can just tell, but it's getting so much better than it was even months ago, that I know I agree with you that like a lot of this stuff looks kind of or sounds kind of crappy sometimes, but it's not far off either.
Right. Well, here's the deal. It's getting better and better in its photorealism, but there's something about it that you can tell at times where you're thinking that looks a little too clean.
Yeah.
Or it's producing it in such a sterile way that that's something that can occasionally trip that mental tripwire anyway. And I'm going to use a really nerdy film studies term, because I took one film studies class at a liberal arts college, and then I actually tried to redirect my life so I could actually have a career. But the term I picked up in a textbook about this is called mise en scène, because unfortunately the French had an indelible role in founding film as we know it, so they got to name a bunch of stuff in their abomination of a language. So mise en scène, it's just the look of the scene. So the decision of, I don't know, how David Fincher tends to light his movies, or the decision of Memento to have half the movie in black and white, half in color. Like, that decision contributes to the mise en scène. That's the part where AI is going to have the hardest time looking more lifelike, because you can just tell it always has the same general lighting and saturation at all times. You should look up whenever you see those like the rap videos where they always make their videos out of AI, and it's always this funny video of Kamala driving drunk and having a horrendous crash.
I have not seen that. That's AI? That's not real? That sounds like a plausible real life situation.
That's how you trick the world into thinking AI is real. You just show them very realistic stuff, like Kamala having a Bruce Jenner style car crash.
They need to make it. Yeah, AI needs to have dead giveaways, like Kamala declines a glass of wine. You know, that such a scenario would never happen.
Yeah, or Jim Acosta doesn't have a meltdown when someone asks him to give the microphone up for once. Like that was my highlight I wanted to mention for the Jim Acosta as of that story that you covered, because that whole debacle when he just tried to hold on to the microphone a little longer like a little kid, and then they turned it into this whole debacle of, oh, Trump, they used that footage and they edited it to make it look like he hit the girl that
Yeah, I
tried to
remember
take the
that.
mic from him, and
Yeah.
they cut a frame out because they do this thing in movie fight scenes when they're editing movie fight scenes like Atomic Blonde, when they want a character to look like they're hitting the henchman harder, that they'll remove a frame from the punch to make the punch look like it's going faster. Or the guy will take the hit and the arm will move and it'll skip a frame, so it'll look like, oh, the arm broke, didn't it? Because it moved, like it clicked into its new position, so it's like its arm broke, right? So people thought, oh, they removed a frame when Acosta hit her arm, so it looked like he was really punching her, or they slowed it down to make it look dramatic. And they changed. They just made up a brand new narrative out of Jim Acosta just being a wussy little bitch, which was the real story of that.
Yeah,
that was the real funny part. That man, it's like if Ron Burgundy was instead played by Zoolander.
That is a pretty good mashup. Yeah, that's
who he was.
That's kind of Jim Acosta. I could see that.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I got to let you go, but thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Thanks for having me on. I'll be sure to call again sometime soon.
Thanks. Sounds good.
All right,
you got any AI opinions, Del?
Any AI opinions?
Yeah.
I like I'll be honest with you. It's really good for stuff like entertainment, which is the sad thing. It's like you want AI to help you with stuff you don't want to do, not with stuff that you do want to do. I wanted AI to help me with like mow the lawn or doing that, not help me watch TV or do something like that. No.
Are you telling me that you don't come from a middle-class neighborhood where there's pride taken in your lawn, mowing it yourself?
Oh, I love mowing my lawn. That's why I get someone else to do it for me.
Oh.
I have a lot of pride in my lawn. If I mowed that thing, it would look like crap. So I got to hire someone else to do it. Otherwise, it looks good.
How do you make a lawn look like? Well, anyway, it's pretty easy to do. You know, you just fire that thing up, assuming you got a gas engine one, and
yep,
AI, not one of those electronic ones, not one of those commie electric mowers.
When used right, AI can do some good stuff. There's several channels on YouTube, on the YouTube there, which people use AI to animate. One of them's called Neural Viz, which has a really good channel, doing like, and you don't use it with like real. If you do it like with aliens and things, and that looks fine because it's aliens. You don't know what they're supposed to look like anyway, so it could look like crap.
It is fun because I the only time I play around with it for visuals is for thumbnail needs. So I'm always trying to tell it like I want a picture of like the last thumbnail I did for Sunday, which was like, give me a picture of Trump driving like an old 1950s pickup full of people in sombreros with a sign that says Mexico or bust, and it probably took like 30, 40 prompts because half the time, like there's an arm missing or like, it's just like not just subtle errors, but really drastic errors. And it's fun. Like sometimes I'll type into Grok what I want, and the first thing is like perfect, done. And then sometimes it's like, why are people missing arms? And why does that guy have like 3 noses? And the errors, they come back really
from West Virginia.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. All right. Last caller is going to go. Last call will go to Skulldugger. Skulldugger, are you there?
I am. Hello.
What's on your mind?
Howdy.
I was just wondering if you happened to catch the really sneaky nod to life starting at conception that was snuck into the executive order that defines men and women.
I did not see that. What was it?
Oh. So, where's the definitions? Oh, here they are right here. Female means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell. Male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell.
Okay. And this, as far as Trump defining the genders by executive order, I haven't looked at this in detail. So in what context does that fit? To what do those definitions apply?
So this is specifically to the government. So any federal agency and subsidiary, basically.
Okay. But how, okay. And how, yeah, not only how does that correspond and say, well, we know how that is going to apply to gendered situations like bathrooms, locker rooms, all that sort of stuff. But how is the language that you've identified that clearly implies life beginning at conception, assuming you've quoted it accurately, how is that going to comply with all of the rest of the federal government's love of, I don't know how to phrase it in the way they would want to, ending not life after conception, doing away with those clumps of cells.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, because now, I mean, there's already supposed to be a wall put up between federal funds and abortion anyway.
Yeah.
But now it has to be absolute, because at that point you are absolutely terminating a human life. And that's not something that the federal government can participate in.
I'm going to try to, while you offer some thoughts on this, I'm going to try to pull up that executive order and read exactly what it says.
So the full name of the executive order is Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, and Restoring Biblical Truth to the Federal Government.
Wow, he went biblical with it. That's a challenge. Everybody who's had their First Amendment rights violated with a reference to the Bible in a public setting.
No, biological truth.
Oh, I thought you said biblical. I thought you said, okay, it's biological.
If I did, I misspoke. It's biological.
Okay, yeah. If they went biblical, holy crap, that would be a new level of aggression.
But still, I mean, you can basically supplement one for the other in that reading. So
yeah, I suppose, or at least those definitions correspond. Now, as you mentioned.
So if you scroll down to
conception,
where we
right?
At?
So yeah,
section
D and
2,
E. Yeah.
Section 2, C and D, or D and E.
Yeah. And okay, policy and definitions. The policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, not changeable. Executive branch will enforce all sex protective laws to promote this reality. Okay, so to the extent that there are laws that make sex distinctions where they are necessary, these are definitions that are going to apply in those laws, and they're going to govern executive interpretation of all. Govern executive interpretation of an application of federal law and administration policy. Now, the nice thing here too is this will do away with some of the corrupt interpretation of the Civil Rights Act. Now, if you ask me, the Civil Rights Act went way too far in a million different ways in terms of coercing people to out of their right of association. But in the gender context, insofar as we believe it's a good legal purpose to remove, say, gender-based discrimination from the public sphere, again, I would have some questions about that, but clearly the law was designed to protect women, not people who say they are women, but in fact are not. And what this tells me, not that I had any doubt otherwise, is you're not going to see the attempts to redefine, say, the Civil Rights Act to create all sorts of transgender rights when in fact it was written to protect women's spaces and protect women's rights. So at least, that's nice too. At least we're not going to have an insane Justice Department under Merrick Garland and company trying to redefine all this stuff in the context of what are men and women.
Well, I mean, if you read down the next section too, where it's talking about gender ideology and gender identity, I mean, this is going hard right after everything.
Wow, they have a definition here: the ever-shifting concept of self-assessed gender identity. I like that phrasing, ever-shifting concept.
And look how they define gender identity in the next one down. Reflects a fully internal and subjective sense of self, disconnected from the biological reality.
Wow.
And existing.
They did go hard on this one.
Someone's disconnected from reality, that's for sure.
No gray area allowed here.
Yeah. I hadn't read this one at all. And this one, this is pretty good.
This was just brought to my attention by a friend earlier today. I was like, no, they didn't go that far. And then I pulled it up and looked for myself, and I was.
And this was a day one. Yeah, this one was signed on Inauguration Day. Yeah.
Yes, this was a day one activity.
Yeah.
And it's just, there was so much of the flurry. I don't know that many people have actually picked through this thing yet, and I don't know that.
I feel so conflicted about this stuff. It's like the Laken Riley Act too. I mean, I look at this and I don't find any of it disagreeable. It makes perfect sense. I'm glad that our country is back on a sensible trajectory in this way. But then again, like, I get pessimistic about this stuff. I'm like, how the hell do we need a White House? Why do we need a White House declaration that like dudes have nuts and chicks don't?
Right.
But it is necessary. It actually is. That's the state of our country.
I was having this conversation with my dad yesterday about this is essentially an expansion of government power in that we're allowing the government to define these things,
Mm.
but it's also a realization that we need the government to actually define these things because we as society have like mucked it up.
Well, yeah, insofar
bad.
as it operates on a set of definitions, and those definitions have changed, or at least become something else than they were traditionally.
So
yeah, you have to.
For a time here at the beginning of this administration, we are going to have to allow the government to expand some of its powers in order to hopefully reduce the powers.
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
know. It's
it's
you
like
got to become
Thanos
the beast to, yeah.
It's Thanos using the stones to destroy the stones.
Yes.
Like, we have to use the power of government to dismantle the power of government.
I've never
And
seen that movie because it's a movie, but I did see the one where they're trying to throw the ring into Mount Doom and they can't do it because, why shouldn't I keep it or whatever? Same idea. Yeah.
It's a pretty ring.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you for the thoughts, man. I hadn't looked at this one at all, but if you have any
until earlier today, so yeah.
Wait, what? Sorry, I'm looking at Dell's toy that you can't see. But what am I even looking at here? It looks.
I think that's Frodo.
It's the.
Oh, is that Lego Mount? Lego.
It's Frodo standing.
Oh,
at
there's
the edge of
Gollum.
Mount
Yeah.
Doom, and
Yeah.
Gollum is sneaking up on him.
Got it.
You got Samwise back there too.
Yeah. God, that actor who played Samwise turned out to be a real annoying piece of crap, didn't he?
Sean Austin.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the call, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it on calls this evening. Mr. Dell, you're welcome to hang out for Super Chat. You're welcome. I know it's late out there down at the Double Wide on the East Coast, but let's see. All right. Where did I leave off over on Rumble? Let's see. GR says Gabbard was the only demon rat. Remember, he unironically uses the term demon rat. The only demon rat candidate in 2020 to say hell no about banning President Trump's Twitter account. I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it. And good for her if she did. She didn't even think about it. I think that's what you're saying you liked. Back then, there wasn't much I liked about her. I know people... she still had that kind of isolationist foreign policy view, which I know a lot of people appreciated. And I guess I would have at the time. But back then, when she was actually on the Democrat debate stage, there was not much... the only thing that I liked about her was that old political ad that her dad made opposing gay marriage, where she said, I can't marry my sister and you can't marry your dog. You remember that one?
No, I don't remember that one. But that's...
Tulsi, if it was like a controversy in 2019 heading into the 2020 campaign. She comes from a political family in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And her dad was, I don't know if he was governor of Hawaii or he held some high office in Hawaii. And his campaign ad in the late 90s was in opposition to gay marriage, saying, I can't marry a dog and you can't marry your sister. Marriage has a definition, deal with it. And how far the Democrat Party has strayed.
I know.
GR also, GR's got a few here. I'll just read through them. I was born in the 80s and I always think of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. That's right. Chip and Dale, not Chippendales. Chip and Dale. But dude, you're getting Adele was a thing for the bit. I thought it was 2000 or something. You ain't shit on Perfect Dark. I sucked at Perfect Dark. Are you a video game guy?
I did not own any Nintendo consoles. My first console was an Atari 2600, and ever since then, I've just had computers.
So you are PC Master Race.
That's me.
All right. I tried to get into PC Master Race a little bit, but I'm just inferior. What can I say? I couldn't hang. Got friends playing like Counter-Strike and stuff. I play on the server for bad people. I'm just getting wrecked. The thing is, I just never took the time to pick up keyboard and mouse. And I know you can plug in your controller and stuff, but then it's console. Why would I want to do that? So I don't know. Should I learn keyboard and mouse?
I can't deal with the joystick. I mean, I prefer the joystick is much harder for me to control than a mouse or and a keyboard. It's got a lot better controls with those.
Did you buy a bidet or learn to wipe your ass yet? Now I don't even have to ask if there are bidets in the double wide, do I?
I haven't installed it yet. It's downstairs. I'll bring it up next time and show you, but I haven't installed it yet.
I guess I am behind the times if the double wide has the bidet luxury.
We keep on the cutting edge of technology.
Buy a bidet so your ass can stop stinking already. I'm not buying a bidet. The attachment will work. Don't be cheap and lazy because you're going to stay dirty. Hey man, humanity has survived for centuries and millennia without bidets. And I like tech. I like life's conveniences. I just, without getting graphic, that's a no from me. I'm going to pass. Also says, I've been sitting here with my clean, fresh ass, pouring my milk in my bowl right before my Raisin Bran. You take a bowl, pour milk, then pour cereal and grab a spoon. Enjoy your proper cereal. No, it's just incorrect. No, have you ever poured milk in the bowl before the cereal? Unless you're refilling a previously eaten bowl of cereal.
No, that's crazy talk. That's insanity right there.
Squishy Hunter, I'll jump on next week to tell you about the uproar Trump's return to office order has called in the civilian agency. Yeah, I'd like to hear that. I know he did. He said, hey, you guys go back to work. And I guess that has caused controversy among the federal government workforce as well.
Amazing.
All right. Thank you guys over on Rumble. Let's see. Griggs. Oh, we talked about that one. The military members. Oh, maybe I misread this earlier, Greg. Best part of the deal is military members are exempt from receiving it if they're dual status. I'm still confused about that. Like, does this thing apply to military members or does it not?
Sounds like he's saying it doesn't.
But he's saying exempt if they're dual status. But I don't know what dual status means. Do you? I don't know. Military?
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't.
You have to explain it to me a little bit more, Griggs, but I'm sorry I didn't understand. Stooge McDuck, lol, Matt, Alistation is a running joke. Oh, Alisation. Oh, with AJW, because now she says, that's how she says allegation. Oh, okay, yeah. These Alisations, right. I'm like, dude, look it up. That's like a German Shepherd dog. Alsatian? So I was like, I don't know. That's funny that it went that way, though. Now it's coming back to me, right? Because Tiffany Henyard once said, all these Alisations against me. Something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. John Hoyle. Military helicopter flew straight into a passenger airline at D.C. Reagan Airport. Made a beeline right into it. Yeah. I don't know if there's any update in that. I could check. What was the page? I had the CNN page open. I'll do a quick review to see if there's any more before we sign off. But
I don't know if I trust the CNN page. They might bring up something like maybe a black hole opened up under something.
Oil King, did you watch the second video of Sam Hyde video? Apologetics and context training. Please invite the aristocratic utensil. It would be fun. UK. I haven't seen the second Sam Hyde video they're talking about. No. UK lady faces jail time for a fart intimidation video. I don't even know what a fart intimidation video is, but it must have been a hell of a fart. Like straight out of rapper Dank DeMoss.
Nope. I can tell you exactly what a fart intimidation, because Maul just got into the bean dip. I gotta air something out here. Hold on.
All right. Oh, you have a defense.
Damn it, Maul!
He's got his defenses ready to go already.
Yeah. So whenever you get threatened with the bean dip, with someone eating the bean dip, you got to have defenses ready.
Is that battery powered, or do you rely on a plug-in?
No, it's got a cord on it right now, but it'll work. It'll work on the battery.
I think you need. Yeah,
in
you need
case
some
Maud
backup
decides to, in case Maud flips the breaker again.
All right. As far as the airplane and helicopter crash, I don't see any major new pieces of information in this reporting.
It looks like it is an Army one.
Yeah, you're right. CNN is still saying U.S. Army, and then other sources I see are saying police. So yeah, we're still unclear on that. Just commentary from politicians. FBI is responding. Witness descriptions. Coast Guard's trying to rescue people. First responders are there 16 minutes ago, according to Governor Glenn Youngkin. But I don't see it as far as like the specific facts of what happened here. I don't see a lot of updates. I'm sure we'll find those out in the coming hours, but all right. I think I am all set on, one more question. A couple more from Blankets over on Odyssey. Matt, did you enjoy JD versus Margaret? It was great. I didn't talk about it on Sunday, but yeah, Margaret, what's her name? Margaret Brennan over on CNN. She's hilariously bad. And JD Vance, man, that guy in terms of his ability to handle reporters, in terms of his presence on a debate stage, I wouldn't want to go against him. He's a smart dude. Also says, what do you think of Caroline Leavitt? she seems pretty based. I did not watch a lot of the press conference yesterday. I appreciate the job offer that she's given me to go become a White House correspondent. Are you interested in that? She might take us both.
I don't know if they're going to take you because of the things you've been involved with, but they might take me. I'll go for you. And I'm only about 5 hours away, so
why not? I speak fluent Russian. I will broadcast straight to the Kremlin for you. No, so I haven't heard a lot. I do know she's very young, 27 years old, youngest press secretary ever, I believe. So, hey, good for her. I don't know a lot about her. Apparently came through Elise Stefanik's office and worked for Kayleigh McEnany, and I don't know. All I know is she's not an historic press secretary because she is white and looks to be a straight mom to me. So
Caroline with a K.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll allow it. Squishy Hunter says, I don't care, Margaret. Yeah, those memes were great too. The I don't care, Margaret stuff. Okay. D Live, we're good. I'll give a quick refresh on YouTube and Tippy. But other than that, we're all set. All right. Well, thank you for joining tonight, Del. Very much appreciated. Always appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks to
I'm always happy to bring democracy to information.
Thanks to everybody else for making the live production a success. Thanks to producer and call screener Tim for his assistance. Appreciate all the callers tonight, super chatters, regular chatters. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well. MattChristiansenMedia.com for anything show related. I'll be back on Sunday. Have a great night.
Keep on hollering.